your workers. I see it in line, but they give them.
58. What's going on? Yeah. I got 1 minute. I got 6 p.m. All right, I got 6 p.m. Everybody ready? Like to call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Baldridge. Here. Cullinan.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
Moyle. Here. Curran.
Here. Number 3, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, number 4, Mayor's Report. We got a lot of stuff to do tonight. I'm gonna try to get through as quick as I can here. So, first one, we did have a meeting last week with the softball board. The softball board was working with trying to bring more tournaments into the city of Oglesby, which they've been relatively successful at doing. To try to support that better, we talked to them about how we can try to maintain some, tree foul lines better. There's some things that we probably can't do this year yet, but we're gonna work on lights, drainage, and other things. But I'm very excited that they're bringing more people into the town. That's awesome. Number 2, IDNR Matheson Annex Project. I had a conversation with IDNR today. It has been slow, right? I wanted to get an update because on Thursday I have to talk for the state of the cities and stuff, and I wanted to make sure to give an update on this since we talked about it more than a year ago. It's really slow. There's lots of debris that's all across the new area. They are working on trying to get a bid for that. The goal is that they're gonna get a bid. This is best case scenario. Best case scenario, they get the bid together this fall. They find somebody that's a bidder for it. They would get the cleanup done by spring. And the best case scenario would be that Zone 1 could be open as early as next summer. Zone 1 was that canoe landing that is close to where Jonesville is. So what that would be, it'd be a canoe landing, a parking lot, and then a connected trail. All the other stuff, zones 2 through 8, that's the stuff that's more focused around Oglesby. So earliest, best case scenario would be next summer would be the first thing that we would see open. Number 3. April 23rd, the Oglesby Elks is gonna have a taco night for Meals on Wheels. I'm always excited every time a nonprofit is putting together some kind of event, whether it's a fundraiser event or just getting people into town. I think last Saturday there was a great LP Booster Club brought people in to Cortileno's, had a great turnout for that. So anytime we get nonprofits coming and bringing in events into town, we should be super excited about that. Number 4, and this is item, the irony is here, this is actually one item that I think is actually a good thing that the mayor report got moved up for. I know that we've got some people in the crowd today, and I think there's people who are gonna wanna talk about the sidewalk grant issue. I will say, we've had a lot of calls, we've talked to a lot of people about that. The next item after this is public comment on agenda items. You are more than free to come up and talk about it if you like, absolutely. I would highly recommend that you wait until the second public comments. I will say that there's been lots of conversations. Commissioner McDermott's been working really hard with the engineers, looking at some of the solutions that we can do. So I think he's planning on talking about that. He's planning on putting something on the board here, talk through the thing, what's been looked at. I say that because we might be able to save ourselves an hour of time. So please, again, a lot of great things I think we can possibly do. At the end of the day, it's not like we're not gonna do the Safe Route to School program. I mean, right, we're talking $300,000 worth of upgrades, $250,000 of it is paid for by the state. We're not gonna turn that away, right? But we can we'll work with the engineers to see what we can modify to make, to answer some of those concerns. But again, please wait until the second one if you could, so we can see if we can solve that for you. And then the last one, after last meeting, I did get a lot of calls from people. I talked to a lot of individuals. Some even left messages where they said that I didn't have to call them back. And I thought one was funny because he left the message 3 times where I didn't have to call him back. Talking about our meetings being too long and too problematic. I will tell you that I am going to look at trying to do things a little differently. I'll try to be better about it, but keep in mind, can you imagine, and I'll use Hillary as an example because we talked about this over the weekend. Let's say Commissioner Moyle had a topic that she thought was super important for health and safety to talk about. But I think that it doesn't have value for the public to talk about. I can't imagine a world where I interrupt her in the middle of her speaking and say, I'm sorry, I don't think the public has value knowing about that. I just can't, I can't do that. That's not gonna be something, I can't make a determination of what parts I think are valuable to the public or not. So that is problematic. I mean, it would just come out as complete rudeness. I will try to be better if I see argument, again, I don't wanna interrupt people because I give them their time to speak or whatever, but if I do see that arguments are starting to go circular, I'll try my best to interrupt and see if I can push something to a closer thing. I guarantee it's not gonna be perfect, but because I worry about doing something like that will increase rudeness perception instead of trying to get brevity and get things moving. So those are the only things I got. Next up is number 5, public comment on agenda items only. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. We'll definitely have time at the end. Oh,
I believe we do have some.
oh, sorry. Okay.
I was here, Brian Camenisch, that's C-A-M-E-N-I-S-C-H. I was here last council meeting. Unbeknownst to me, I guess I didn't double check that I wasn't on the agenda for my variance request. So obviously I'm back. I kind of let everybody know where we stood the last time. Again, we've done everything right from the beginning. We tried to do everything right this time. We were told that it wasn't a hardship, so it was voted down. I think it's pretty, there's no hardship. There's 3.5 feet in between the fences by the other homeowner. There's no way that I can take care of the 18 inches that would be left over, that would be aesthetically, it wouldn't look right. Because clearly they don't make mowers that are 18 inches, and based on all the signs and ropes and stuff, I can't go on that property. I think my wife might have sent a letter to you guys. I think it explained all of that. So I don't wanna drag it out. Jason, you called me today. I tried to call you right back. Unfortunately, I was at the doctor. You didn't call me back, so we weren't able to discuss it. You had a proposal that you said that you couldn't bring up because you don't have 100% approval. Again, they could have corrected this back in 2019. Either way, I mean, I like your idea, but I'm just asking to approve it and be done with it. And if you don't want to approve it, I'd ask that we postpone it to the next meeting, only because we filed a FOIA requesting 10 years worth of variance requests and denials and what the boards voted on. The FOIA was violated. My wife sent a message this morning, and we were advised that they wanted a extension, which is reasonable, but we should have had that on Friday, so then it makes it sound like, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to have that information for tonight. I don't know that for sure, but we would have liked to have that in hand to say, hey, this is where there was no hardship in a variance. And I can think of a couple that I'm aware of where there was no hardship and they were still passed. So there really is no hardship here for anybody except for me and my wife, and we're just asking to pass this variance and let us put the fence up and be done with it. And I'll take any questions if you have them.
have any, does anybody have any? Have any
I-
questions?
Not at this
Maybe when
time.
we get back to the topic, I might have some questions, but.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
I'll tell you what, I'll look into the, I don't know what the FOIA issue was, you said something about an extension, I'll look into
I'm
that.
not blaming anybody, I'm just saying the way it looks then is that we are obviously looking for the information to have it tonight, so I could present it and say, hey, we were told that we couldn't have the variance pass for not having a hardship. Okay, we wanna say, oh, that's great, we understand that, but, hey, why did you pass this one, and this one? You know, I know every situation is different, you know, and this is obviously a unique situation too, which I've brought up before. This isn't like we're just randomly trying to, you know, get a variance to upset anybody. It's because we were put in this position because of the city having issues with an ordinance violation to the neighbor to the south of us. That's all. And we're just, I mean, we're talking 18 inches, 25 feet of 18 inches. This is kind of, frankly, I think it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. So, if we do get back to it and you have some questions, I'll come back up, okay?
Thank
I
you,
will,
sir.
I will look into the FOIA extension thing and get back to you on that as well.
I'm sorry. So that's, I'm not saying that was on purpose, I'm just saying it
No,
was, so it appears that way because that's what we wanted. So if it's something that that you guys need more information, that I'm asking for you guys to postpone it. I don't think we need to do that, I think it's pretty
Okay,
clear cut here, but if so, that's fine.
thank you.
And
It was,
I understand.
Purely
Everybody
oversight.
makes mistakes.
Yeah.
We understand, okay? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, okay. All right, number 6, approve minutes from April 6, 2026 regular meeting. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle. Aye. Curran.
Aye. Number 7, approve bills presented for payment in the amount of $713,511.90 for Vissering Construction, $218,376.84 for regular monthly bills, for a total of $931,888.74. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications, can I get a motion to approve the bills?
I motion we approve bills presented for payment in the amount of, total amount of $931,888.74.
Second. Second that.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle. Aye. Curran.
Aye. Number 8, approve payroll for April 10th, 2026 in the amount of $79,735.47. If there's no additions, corrections, or modifications to the payroll, can I get a motion to approve?
I motion we approve payroll for April 10th, 2026 in the amount of $79,735.47.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle. Aye. Curran.
Aye. Number 9, old business. A, discussion and possible action for purchase of equipment tractor. McDermott.
Okay, guys, put it blindly, we've beaten this basically to death. Okay, I'm asking to get approval for the tractor. Rich and I did go to the implement dealer Friday, wasn't it?
Wednesday the 15th.
Wednesday the 15th. Okay, I stand to be corrected. They did say there's a few things that could be done to the tractor that we have now. They were saying there's a few things that could be fixed. It's got a strong engine, okay? To fix it is $26,000 to fix it. We've already spent $5,000 for a radiator. Well, that right there is already the payment for the new tractor, okay? If we do keep this tractor, whether it stays with the street department or the electric, you can get a monitor for the tractor that would regulate how many hours it's on it, when it needs oil changed and everything else. It's $1,500 to install. There's also, I got books, gave them to the guys so they can do a check-off list every single morning. But like anything else, if you don't keep on track with it and make sure they do it every day, that's one of those things. And I would suggest if somebody misuses the tractor or any of the vehicles in town, whether it be whichever department, and I mean all of them, because everybody works together, we're gonna have to start disciplining. Okay? I know the guys at the street department don't wanna hear that, the electric department or anybody doesn't wanna hear it, but they're city employees, they need to take care of the city merchandise.
Okay. We'll go around the room. Rich, you have anything to add?
Yeah, as Commissioner McDermott stated, on Wednesday, I got rained out, so I asked him to meet me at Martin Implement. At that point, we talked to, I believe Neil, who was the branch manager, and also the mechanic came to talk and answer some questions we had. His name was Chad. I think he's here tonight. I don't know if you guys want to ask him the questions, or if you want me to read what I believe I remember. There's been some dispute apparently of what I recall and what actually was said, I guess. I don't know.
Nick, if you wanna step up to the podium, you're perfectly fine, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
That'd be
let's-
great.
I
I'm sorry.
believe in asking
I'm
the-
sorry, are you Nick or Chad?
Chad.
Okay,
Chad.
sorry.
Hi, Chad, thanks for coming.
Oh, no problem. Nice to
Sorry,
meet you
Chad, I
guys.
called you Nick.
Live 10 miles down the road in Tonic, and I can't say as I know many of you, so nice to meet you. I'm a service manager at Mark Equipment, was a mechanic for them for 20 years in the field before I came in and replaced Jeff Ballard, was a previous service manager. These guys came in, gave us a little talk about the backhoe. We talked over some of the pros and cons over new purchase versus refurbishing, some of the problems they have with the old G. If you have any questions, I've got the quote with me, got the estimate with me. Guys, any details you want to be made aware of?
First and foremost, our concern is everyone's safety. These are questions I asked you there too, but, do you believe that there are any concerns with the equipment that could hurt or kill someone?
I don't believe there's anything inherently unsafe about the G-loader. The G-loader, the biggest drawback you have on it now is there some issues on here that need to be taken care of. Maintenance-wise, uptime-wise, it's a machine that's gonna need some attention if you choose to keep it. Unsafe? No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things where, your operator and your operator conditions are gonna create an unsafe condition before the machine itself does.
Okay, I'll try to make these quick here, but, after these repairs are completed, how long do you think this machine will be operable with a proper regular maintenance program implemented?
It was a Dubuque-built machine. I don't foresee any problems with parts in the near future. If you're willing to put some money into the machine and keep it updated, you can get another 10 years out of it if you choose to. That's just up to the choice of the village.
And like Commissioner McDermott stated, there's a device that you guys could put on there to
Which
alert
one
you
put
to
on there?
come and maintain it at the proper times. Do you foresee any concerns beyond the repairs that are being completed now?
It was quite the extensive list we put together. You take care of those repairs. You still got an older machine, you're gonna have your regular maintenance stuff, you're gonna have hoses, minor repairs, but I think we were pretty thorough when we put the quote together. So it should cover your major repairs for
It's not to say that something could come up,
anytime,
could
something
happen.
we're talking.
yeah.
Or a new vehicle?
Or sometimes a new vehicle, yeah, but
Yeah.
if you're driving a 10-year-old car, 15-year-old car, occasionally things happen, unfortunately.
Things just get wore out.
In your professional opinion, this is just your opinion, do you believe this was worth repairing and will be safe, or you suggest we purchase a new one?
I think that's over and above my pay scale, to be completely honest with you.
Good answer.
I think that's a
good
good
answer.
decision,
Yeah.
and every municipality that I've done business with approaches it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Some municipalities want a newer machine with warranties, so there's no unexpected expenses. If you have a warranty, you have a fixed payment, you don't have any big bills, big estimates come through like this.
And that's the one thing we gotta realize, that we won't have a big bill.
Well,
I mean,
every year for 5 years we will.
Well, but we're just, with the 26,000 to fix this,
We were
next
doing
to
that.
5,000, I've already spent 5,000 for a radio.
So just so we get this all on the table
Yeah.
correctly, you're still spending that amount of money, so that machine will still be within the city's possession. The amount of money will still have to be paid. The question here is
Correct.
if we're going to go on top and be above that and purchase a new tractor.
You are correct.
Let's let
But
one,
when we go ahead and we take that tractor at the end of the 5 years, we trade it back, we get another government grant, okay? And we get another tractor to start over. I'm not necessarily saying getting rid of this one. I'm gonna be honest with you, Rich. And I think the city needs to understand, it's the city's tractor. And the one that the electric department is using, that's wore out.
well, let's.
Even
try-
worse than this.
Hold on, let's try to stop the circular argument. Not that it's not
That's all right.
valuable or something. Let's let Rich finish whatever you wanted to say. Did you have any
Those
other
are the
questions?
last questions I had. Thank you, Chad.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, appreciate that.
thanks.
We'll go around.
Chad,
Did you have any
appreciate it.
comments, Ed?
No, my position on, this still hasn't changed. I think we just I think we should just bite the bullet and, buy a new, backhoe. I mean, Obviously, I think, I can't say, I mean, obviously, I believe his name was Chad. He says every town's different, but I do think most towns have a life cycle for their equipment, so, you know, we spent, what, in the last 2 years, $30-some thousand on this. I think it's time to put the issue to bed and purchase a new backhoe.
All right, thanks. Hillary?
I hate to ask you to come back, Chad, but.
No, it's okay. He's the
So,
expert.
I was talking to someone who was a leader in another town, and they mentioned they had recently purchased a new backhoe, and it's been nothing but a nightmare because of this, and I'm not real familiar with it, with this DEF, because it's now a new federal mandate, anything newer than 2015-ish?
In 2012 was the beginning of
Okay.
Tier 4 emissions, where you had a diesel particulate filter. 2016 was final Tier 4, where you started seeing the DEF.
What are some of the complications with,
Extra complexity.
okay,
It's a lot of extra components, and no matter what it is, if it's mechanical, eventually it's gonna break. So yeah, DEF, emissions, it's the way of the world now, and, even if temporarily it goes away under one political administration, I think with Europe being at final Tier 4, with America being at final Tier 4, I think we're stuck with it.
okay,
So it's one of those things that has gotten better, but industry-wide, whether it be John Deere or any other competitive manufacturer, a lot of the components are made by one company. So
Okay.
people might tell you, oh, I don't never have a problem with a John Deere, I never have problems with brand X, brand Y.
mhm.
All the components are made by the same
Right.
company, and it's extra complexity that I don't
Does it
particularly like.
require different maintenance, is it,
It requires a little bit of operator training, just to
Okay.
make sure that you are putting the correct DEF in, you're putting clean DEF in. I have seen some instances where people have put DEF in their diesel fuel tank. It's very expensive repair because it will take out fuel system components very quickly. So there's a little training involved in it, but no, mainly with the uptime, it's the extra complexity.
Okay.
It's a more complicated machine, more sensors, a little bit higher power controllers, so yeah, it adds some complexity, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of our service calls are emissions related.
okay, all right, thank you. Mac, you mentioned something, grant, what did you mean, can you explain?
Oh, it's a government, when you
Thank
buy
you, sir. Appreciate it.
an implement, the, government actually gives you a certain amount, it's like 60 grand.
Are you
60,000.
talking about the discount, the government
Yeah.
discount?
Mhm.
Okay,
You should be aware of that,
yeah, I was
Okay, that's what
confused
I'm
when you
talking
said
about.
grant,
right?
yeah,
It's not a grant.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
they call it a government grant.
So I really appreciate that. I know we've taken a lot of time with this, and I know we're kind of getting beat up by people taking so much time. You know, I truly believe that open discussion on something, trying to find the best answer is really the way to go. So, and I think we've answered a lot of questions. I know we talked about the mini versions of them. I think the answer we got was they're not feasible for our city. Is that
I'd love
correct?
it, but it's not feasible.
I love it too, but if it's not feasible, it's not feasible. So that tells me, and I do appreciate the details there about trying to make a judgment call if $30-something thousand is worth the maintenance on it. When I look at it, how much we've already put towards it, and it's already an aging machine, if there is, even if it's close to what the other cities have done, like Mendota, when they gave the example of $160,000 machine, roughly, and then 5 years later, you turn it back in for 75 and get a new one. Just doing the math on that, it has a lower depreciation amount than that heavy maintenance cost. So I would recommend that we buy the new backhoe, right? We put something in place to alleviate your concerns about some kind of daily or weekly maintenance log. Maybe we do need to get into a contract with somebody to make sure that there is a fee that we're maintaining this equipment, so that way we're not gonna have a problem to get us through the 5-year period to get a new piece of equipment.
I should also mention that with this new tractor, it comes with, you can correct me if I'm wrong, sir. It comes with a tracker that tells you when the maintenance is due, and they will know, we will know. You can get it on our phone, they'll say, hey, that's coming up due.
Yep.
Call down there, Dan, we need you to get that over there and get it serviced right away.
So my recommendation
That's
is.
included in the price, and I'd like to make, go ahead if you wanna do it.
So, no, I can't make the motion, I'm just
Well-
saying, I'd like to recommend that we purchase the new backhoe, with getting some good maintenance on it, with the idea that the electric department one, even if it's okay for now for all its needs, in 2 or 3 years, that one gets a new one, so each one of these is on its own life cycle of 5 years, and you have an expected amount of depreciation, makes it easier for our appropriations of how much we're spending on it each year, without these crazy surprises of 30,000 that we're having to spend, having to rent one, all that kind of stuff. That's my 2 cents. Okay, everybody's had a chance to speak. Is there anybody else that's anything to add on the topic?
I'd just like to make a motion that we buy the tractor from Morton Implement.
Do you have the dollar amount? You can make the
I
motion.
did have. Let me see. I know I
I
gave
say
it
that
to
just so that way
everybody.
the council knows what they're voting on.
Can we make that motion stick with the obligation to pay for that maintenance service, where they'll come to us or we bring it to them, so that we know for the next 10 years at least, it is maintained?
Motion gets a little messy, but it's still legitimate.
Yeah.
If you wanna make the purchase contingent upon a maintenance agreement of some sort, yeah.
We don't really have a maintenance agreement in front of us, though. I mean,
Well-
I agree with the
Create
concept, but
create a maintenance law.
Whatever they offer something that goes along with the device that they implement into the machinery. It tells them, I just wanna make sure that for the next 10 years,
See if I can find it.
Five.
it's gonna, that's, no, for 10,
Hopefully
I'd
5,
say.
but.
Well, we can pay, after that, you can still pay them to come. They could do it with our equipment right now. I believe Verizon, we've asked about that before, to put something on the equipment, and that was met with much
Well,
resistance.
if you wanna do a separate maintenance agreement for something like that, I think we purchase it now then, and if you need a separate maintenance agreement, I'd bring that up at the next agenda, council meeting, and then we can apply that to whatever equipment we wanna do. I think it might be difficult to apply, if we don't have the number with us today, it might be difficult to apply that maintenance agreement amount to a motion then, if that's the case. Mac, do you have a
I
number?
apologize, I'm trying to find it.
We can table this item for, we can just move to the next item, we can come back to it, I don't wanna wait.
I think I have it.
But do you
I can
have
pull
it?
up.
Do you
It's,
have?
Chad, do you know how much it is a month for the maintenance module?
Isn't it
I'm
just,
sorry, I don't, not aware how much it is.
Okay.
We usually roll it into the new purchase
Well, we could
price.
also get them for us.
Automatically included at no charge.
All right.
Maintenance agreement basically covers all your maintenance for the terms of where you're gonna keep the machine, and just roll it into the purchase price, so there's no unexpected.
Yeah, it's already in.
the quote I have
Same.
here is $169,570.
That's it.
$169,570, okay. Would you like to make a
I'd like to
motion?
make a motion that we buy the implement from Martin and get it going.
Do you wanna add anything about what, Rich talked about at least creating some kind of a maintenance log, anything like that, or you don't have to, if you don't want to?
They got a maintenance log and there's already one attached to this.
Or you want to?
They
I think that's
informed me
good
of
enough for now, okay, so,
Then we'll work on the trucks and
Say dollar
everything
amount.
else later.
motion was to purchase from Martin for $169,570?
70.
Correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle.
I,
Curran.
Aye. B, discussion and possible action on safe routes to school. McDermott.
Oh, I get them right off the bat today. Okay. We've had people ask about where everything's supposed to be, and there's concerns about it ends at a dead end. And when this all started, and how much the shared cost is. Joint fundament agreement with IDOT was signed by Mayor Curran, 9/17/2024. IDOT's share is $249,891, 75%. Oglesby's share is $85,000, which is 25%. Joint funding agreement was resolution approved 9/16/24 at the board meeting. If there's any other questions, we have Ross and we have the designer of Safe Route to Schools, Jim Clenard. Anybody got any questions? I don't know what else to. Yeah. Yeah, you can come up one at a time, or?
Yeah, the only things I'd be curious to know is, so a lot of residents have called and had some concerns about an area where the sidewalk would just kind of end. And
That's on.
what we tried to explain on the phone to people is, when this was being designed, Jim had approached me, oh my God, this is like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
About how we wanna try to maximize it. There's not enough to cover the entire city. So, well, the goal was, let's utilize the grant to the maximum we possibly can. Let's try to get it in the areas that the city doesn't even have a legal means to tell residents that they were supposed to put, because these homes were built prior to that period. So the goal was to try to find a way to maximize the maximum benefit we could, because we still have to answer all the other questions about the areas that don't have it, or we're supposed to have it. And that's a question for another day that we have to do. So trying to kind of answer that a little bit, and I know Mac was working with you guys, seeing if we can do something there, but we don't want to jeopardize the grant.
Correct.
Anything you can add on to that?
Yeah, so, I mean, that really boils it down to the key point here that, of course, it would be ideal to extend every sidewalk through every block, so that there's continuous routes from every house. That's totally valid. Like you mentioned, the kind of the constraints that we were working under when this was first, talked about planning wise is how do we maximize the dollar amounts to serve as many houses as possible? There's certainly other portions of this area that could have been picked that would have been more expensive per foot for sidewalk. Then we're not maximizing how many houses we can tie in. So you are kind of picking the easiest areas, but once again, we're treating every residence equal to where, how do we serve as many as possible? So, that's really what it boils down to. Like we both said, of course, on Clark Street there, it would be absolutely ideal to extend it further west. And that can still happen in the future. Now, because the yards start to slope towards the road more steeply as you get west there, it does get more expensive per foot. So that, once again, that's the reasoning why. But having as many houses, both, for tomorrow and for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, whoever is living there, once again, you're maximizing. Someone can walk out their front door and get to a sidewalk and not have to go into the road. Now, I know one of the other big complaints, which I totally understand, is that, okay, if the sidewalk does dead end somewhere, people are gonna be walking on the sidewalk, it's gonna end, they're gonna be tempted to walk into the road. That's absolutely true, but we have to have some assumption that people are gonna use the sidewalks correctly. It is illegal to cross the road, not in the block. That's the very literal sense of it. I get it. People use the sidewalk as however it's most convenient for them. But the intent isn't to have people on the sidewalk and then steer them out into the road. If these sidewalks weren't here, they'd be in the road anyway. You know what I mean? So if they're riding their bike or walking, there's equal chance of, if you're backing down your driveway, someone's walking or riding their bike behind you. So that's one of the major things that we've heard. We walked the whole neighborhood last week and talked to as many people as we could. But like you said, Mayor, we don't want to jeopardize this project. As of right now, they are starting on Wednesday. We've delayed that as much as possible. If it were to be delayed anymore, all of a sudden the contractor has other obligations that they're going to get to, and now it's going to take even longer to get the project done. So obviously our goal is to make sure the contractor is doing the work as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, having the least disruption on people living there, on their yards, all that stuff. So that's why we're going to have someone out there 24/7 when they're working, or all hours of the day when they're working, to ensure that that's being met. And if for anybody that lives in that neighborhood, if you see something where it's like, that doesn't look right, or why is there rocks still in the road when they're leaving for the day, let somebody know. We might not catch everything. Our intent is to keep the contractor as honest as possible. So, I mean, really, I think at some point before we get too far, I think you guys probably should hear from the residents that came here today and wanted to voice their concerns. But for any dollar that was reduced from the project, if anything was pulled from the project, you're gonna lose that grant money for it. So now it's hurting anyone that's further down the block, that now is not gonna be close to the sidewalk or won't have it connected to their property. I will also mention that the entire project is within the right of way or within easements that were granted by homeowners, so it is 100% in city property. The city does have the right to do this project as it's laid out right now. Also, the city, we went through IDOT's all of their procedures for environmental review, for public comment periods, everything like that. I understand that it was a while ago. There's always environmental delays on these projects, and it takes years for it to come to fruition. But all that paperwork was done properly. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it stands right now. I think at some point you guys should hear from people, as I know you guys have the last couple weeks, before you probably make any final decisions, but, you know, at some point, it wouldn't take much to where all of a sudden, if something were to be pulled from this project, now unit prices have to be renegotiated with the contractor, which is gonna make it more expensive, and you're losing even more scope. So really, I think as it's laid out right now, it is in the best interest of the city, both short and long term, serving as many houses as possible, and there's always room to do more work in the future.
So I think that answers the question well about whether we should do the project, yes or no, right? And for the areas it was designed for. There was two other things, and I'll ask on behalf of those residents. I'm not sure if they're even in the audience. One of them, I think at least one had asked, their concern where the marking was, that they thought it was too far in. I know it's within the legal easement limit. I don't know how much factor that's been gone in talking with the either engineers or the construction. Is it possible to shorten that distance to give them a little bit more of their driveway, because they had, and if the answer is no, then that means we've looked into it for them.
Yes, and I've heard of that one as well, and I don't know of any area where it could possibly move closer to the road. And once again, you know, when Jim laid it all out, you know, he made every effort to have minimal impact on mailboxes and landscaping and driveways. At some point, you are locked into, like, for driveway removal, it has to be, once again, minimizing costs to serve as many houses as possible. Some driveways have to be cut back deeper into the driveway to make the grades work, so that they're all ADA compliant and it's not too steep of a slope for the driveway and everything. So once again, minimal impact was the idea, was the name of the game. So that's really what leads to every decision that was done here, is how do we maximize this project to give good sidewalks to this area so that kids can walk out of their house, walk on a sidewalk, continuous sidewalk all the way to school. Once again, understood, there's houses that are not in front of a sidewalk when this project is over, but
Well, I appreciate
it comes in phases.
I appreciate looking at that last question, because another one came up, and I actually thought this one had the most merit, where there is some driveways that have some damage on them, and they were interested if we could spend a little bit of money. And I know that as far as the contract goes, we can't modify that contract. However, it was actually a former commissioner that brought this up, and I thought it made a lot of sense, because I know they do it in Peru and stuff like that. If it only costs a few $1,000s for us to help, because again, if we're coming in to make an inconvenience, I'm all for leaving it better than the way we found it. So I don't know if that's something, I don't think we probably have to vote on that, because I think the dollar amount is so small that Mac would have the ability to
Well,
do
I'll
that.
tell you, as a commissioner, I would more than welcome to
Yeah.
help
And I think
anybody.
it is something you guys should look at for in case that gets brought up.
So,
And it would be your decision. You should be able to do a change order increase for those types of things.
would that affect the grant though at all?
You wouldn't get more grant money.
No,
But-
It would still be the city's
okay.
cost, but it could be done.
Via
The
that,
reason is we're not. as
Via
long as we're
our
not-
portion,
Yeah, as
our
long as we're
portion.
not creating significantly more work for the contractor, that would be your guys' decision. We have unit prices
Okay.
from the contractor, so we would have a real number.
So right now, there's a mechanism to look into that, to see if that's something we can do for a few of those select houses. And you're currently working on that right now,
oh,
right?
yeah.
I think that's
So
great.
also, are we gonna take into consideration, does it have to be, the driveways with the pitch you said have to comply to ADH? Have we taken into consideration what the driveway will be after you put the pitch in there? Because what you're gonna be doing is leveling it, and then the pitch is gonna come down. We had that problem down here with Dollar General, if you recall, that
Yeah.
lasted for quite a while and ripped cars apart, so is that gonna be considered in there, or
Yes.
is we waiting until
You
it's
will
over?
have in a few driveways, where you will have where the apron comes up, you have a relatively flat portion for the sidewalk, and then it slopes back into the driveway, but those grades have all been looked at, and they're not gonna create some big.
I just don't want us helping other people out and then all of a sudden
Understood.
get 15 phone calls and everybody's
Thanks.
driveway's gotta come out or something,
Yep,
so.
nope, that totally, being aware of that totally determines, well, like I said, how far back we cut into the driveway, so that was thought of and taken into account with the.
Wouldn't believe how
removal
much
of
I've
the
asked that
driveways.
question. Well, you probably would.
All right, we'll go, anybody, I guess,
I would like to say something else.
I'll give you a second. Go
We
ahead.
need the thing is, we gotta approve this. If you start refusing a grant, more likely to get grant approvals in the future, it's gonna be even harder.
Like
Okay?
Seneca Square.
Yeah. Okay,
And I mean, this
same deal.
was approved by the council all the way back in 2024,
Yeah.
the joint funding agreement, so I mean, it was,
What
Already
action are
approved
we
it.
taking?
I
tonight?
don't think there's any action
There ain't
necessarily,
some action.
unless there was a change order that we can do and it
Right.
doesn't jeopardize the grant we could, but I mean, if it's within a small amount, I think Commissioner
Right.
McDermott can do that already.
Right.
But, well, if there's nothing else on this, I'll tell you what, I really do appreciate any people that wanted to wait till it came up, but, so, to give them an opportunity, if they wanted to come up and speak, I'd give them that now if they would like.
I'd like to also state that even though there's sidewalks that ain't done yet, we could always get more grant, more funding, more capability down the road to extend these other houses with sidewalks.
Yes, sir.
Well, yes,
Again,
sir.
thank you
Thank you
for
for coming.
delaying so we
Hey,
can
no
keep things
problem.
moving.
My name is Thomas Trump, I live at 818 Clark Street, Oglesby. I have separate vehicles in my driveway. Years when I first bought the home in there, no sidewalk was required. And one of the reasons why I bought the area, really love it. Born and raised here. We started parking on the street with a trailer, cause I have a work trailer. Well, the work trailer and then the police didn't want me to park next to the corners because it was blocking somebody's view as they were coming around the corners. They asked me to put reflectors on. I put reflectors on. And then when I would disconnect the trailer, because my driveway is only so big, like I said, I have multiple vehicles on there, I would start getting the police coming to the door, telling me I can't leave the trailer parked on the street. So then I would leave it hooked up on the street. Now as I'm doing that again, they started complaining they can't see around the corners there, so now I'm required to pull in my driveway with trucks, my multiple trucks, my vehicles, and my boats. And I'm running out of room. Okay, now you guys are gonna be moving the sidewalk into the properties and there, and now I'm gonna lose 7 feet of my driveway. And on a general rule, I try to leave my trailers and everything else at home, or at the job site during the week, and I only bring them home on the weekend. Okay, now I'm going to lose that. Now I've gone from putting reflectors on, pulling my stuff off the street, to parking in my driveway, and now I'm gonna have a hard time parking in my driveway without blocking the sidewalk. I got a question, did anybody ever ask the homeowners what they thought of anybody's property?
They did back in
You sent a letter whether they wanted to approve it or not.
And ask for your comments.
Okay, and nobody, no,
Comments back.
so how many people commented about they didn't want it and the reasons why?
There were a handful.
Okay.
10,
just a handful.
31.
And how many letters did you get back?
20?
Okay, so you got 20. And
So
what's-
we sent letters to 50, 20 is a good response.
So-
We're only gonna get responses from the people who don't want it, everybody else is kind of nonchalant about it.
Well, not necessarily. People who approve things in there will also send it back. Some people do, some people don't. Okay, just like some people don't want it, won't complain about it either. On that. If you send out 50 letters, and how many people is this affecting? How many houses? Does anybody know? You gotta check.
It affects all the houses south of Oakwood Avenue, on Oakwood Avenue, all the way to Sunset.
Okay, so
And
you
people
guys.
on Cable Court, everybody who walks is affected.
Okay.
That's the
No
people that,
city.
How many kids walk to school on our area?
how many sidewalks they have to walk on that street.
Okay, I see 2 kids that go to school. 2 kids every
I
morning.
believe within a mile of the school is supposed to walk because the bus will pick them up.
I see 2 kids go to school in the mornings, 2, and they go to Holy Family, they're my next door neighbor. That is the only 2 kids I've seen in the entire block ever walking through there in the mornings.
Today,
I'm not, no,
Today.
every day,
no, today, 5 years from now, there may be 50 kids.
true that, True that.
It's an older neighborhood, and
Okay.
people age and move on,
sure.
they're replaced by kids. There's one house on that block, that a man lived in with his 2 children, they went off to college and family grown, and that house now has 5 kids in that house.
Okay.
That's how things change. So you can't look at how many kids are there today, you have to look at how many kids could be there next week, next year, next decade.
So would you say typically people are having more kids now or less kids?
I'm not saying that kind of debate.
Okay, but you're just saying, say you don't know what's gonna be, I don't know what's gonna be in the future, but statistically, there's gonna be a lot less kids. The birth rate has dropped in the last 3-4 years, am I not correct? So,
So, one less, one more killed,
So-
one less kid.
Okay.
So,
well,
sir,
it
Sir.
ain't about being killed.
Sir. So I wanna let you up here because I respected the ability that you didn't take it during the public comment time.
Sure.
So I didn't start a timer for you necessarily, but I know we're gonna be really
Alright.
close to 5 minutes. So if you have any quick summary things you'd like to
I
add.
have a quick
if you
summary.
could summarize.
The lot
Thank you.
across from me, there is nothing in it. It's Dennis Yabora's, I think it was his father's, it is an empty lot in there. Why was there no adjustment to jump on the other side of the street to go across? Is it because we don't wanna cross the street in there? Is that the problem? Because,
So ideally do it at intersections is the best place for it.
correct, but the whole lot on the next to me would solve my problem. It would be wide open. There's nothing there. There's
So-
no mailboxes to go around, there's nothing to worry about, there's nobody's yards getting tore up. That one's pretty deep.
So on the side of the street his house is on, the grades are relatively flat, it's easy to build a sidewalk. On the Labora side of the street, the slopes are steeper, in order to build a sidewalk, you have to go retaining wall. So the cost per square foot of sidewalk goes up 2, 3, 4 times, because you gotta build a wall.
So you're saying that there's no slope on the side of the street, there's not. We
So-
live across from it, I know you live around the corner, right?
So,
There's not, I'm a
so
contractor.
keep in mind,
so I know.
this would be like your public comment time,
Yeah.
so we're not
All
trying to
right.
get into a debate
All
with,
right. I'm
other
just asking
members.
for a field adjustment, it's something, if we can move the sidewalk across the street, I'm good with it. And
So-
I don't mind having the kids, I
So
feel safer and all
your
that.
question was the specific one that I asked at the thing, to see if it's been looked at, if there was adjustments that could be made, and then I think the answer I got was there really isn't an adjustment to be made. Because I wanted to make sure that at least your concerns were answered. Now, keep in mind, when all this stuff was put up, like 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, if we don't do the entire scope of the project, we don't get the $250,000.
I understand.
So I understand any of the hardship stuff that it might have caused, and that's why I'm trying to find ways that we can work around to either make adjustments or what kind of things we can. In every situation is not gonna be perfect for every resident, but the greater good is like what Mr. Kleinert was talking about, is that it is going to create more opportunities for more kids to be out of street or in mud, with using sidewalks, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next decade.
I can understand.
Sir, may I ask?
Yep.
Is your main concern the sidewalk or the fact that it goes across your
The
driveway?
fact is that now, I'm gonna end up parking back in the street again. Now, if I'm in the street again now, am I gonna get the police saying you can't park the truck and trailer in it? I've resorted to leaving it hooked up, because the law doesn't say, or the ordinance, whatever, doesn't say that if you leave it unconnected, you can't do that. If you leave it connected to your truck, you can't. Now, I'm worried about people not being able to see around the corner again, and I'm gonna have to go through all that again. And I don't wanna block mailboxes, so.
Can I provide a picture of the lot across from us that we're talking?
There's
It's
n-
no different than ours.
It's really irrelevant though, because the scope can't change, is the.
You said you were gonna do a change order for the other thing.
Change order to add something more, but we can't take away, do I have that correct? That we can't take away from the scope?
You could take small parts away, at some point it jeopardizes the project, the price, the contract that's already, we already have a contract with the contractor, they're starting this week.
Didn't you say any $1 amount would change it? Didn't you say that 15 minutes ago?
Just say what it's.
I thought you said any dollar amount said that wasn't, it would change it. They would get rid of your grant. I thought you said that earlier.
No, that's not
Okay,
true.
so there's a certain
there was-
percentage you can do. I'm not asking to change it. If you move it across the street, then what? Is that a change order?
You're significantly changing the scope of the project. We already have a contract with the contractor
Okay,
for building sidewalks in the public right of way, not on private property.
Well, I'm a contractor. If I move something 30 feet over to the side, it really doesn't cost anything to turn around, go 30 feet, and then start doing it
But
again.
it's not,
Unless it's all with the survey,
it's
which
not
is
good
already all been
practice to
done.
put a mid-block crosswalk. That's not,
Okay, so,
you don't do that unless you have a very long block, but there is a long block here, but that would be at the west end of it. But, once again, this is the scope of the project. Could you make very small changes? I think you could, I would have to approve them. But at some point, like I said, you're jeopardizing the grant, you're jeopardizing the contractor's time to perform the grant, and they have other obligations. That's where we sit today. I wish we had more time as well to go back and change things. It doesn't exist right now.
the
Just to put it into discussion about the lot across the street, that lot did not receive the environmental and cultural clearances. It wasn't part of the study area, so you can't put anything on that lot as part of this grant.
Okay, so no alternatives were ever done
I
anywhere
didn't
for
say
any
that,
of it.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
What we did was maximize the project.
So. Right. I appreciate your voicing your concerns. I think we asked the questions. I do wish there was a better solution for that. I know that we do a lot of, work with community policing to try to work with, situations that people might have, whether it be a parking issue or something like that.
Yep.
If it is gonna continue to make I'm just out of curiosity, are we talking about this side of the street? This side, on the other side, on the north
Yeah, I'm
side?
on the north
Yeah,
side.
he's.
And that's causing, the
Down
north
a
side
bit
is
more.
causing the corner issue of being able to see stuff?
Coming around from front of your borders from the south, and there, I've had probably at least a half a dozen to a dozen stops by the police asking me,
Okay.
so. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it. All right, is there any other comments from the council that wanna talk about this?
I mean, I appreciate what he had to say, but I mean, I do think we're kind of too late into the process, to be making, those changes. I mean, like Jim said, there was a process, people were informed, people submitted feedback. Maybe somebody didn't, but I mean, at the end of the day, man, the ship's ready to sail, so.
Yeah.
That's all I have to
Okay.
say.
Hillary?
No, I have nothing to add.
Sorry, Rich, I don't know if I skipped over
I
you.
think there were some other people in the audience that wanted to
Was
comment
there?
on this.
We'll do that. I appreciate that we delayed it so we could get through the material.
You're fine.
But go ahead.
Thank you for allowing
That
me
one.
time to speak tonight. My
Thank
name's
you.
Jody Mahoney, and I live at 824 Clark
This one.
Street. We have lived there, actually built the house 30 years ago, owned the property prior to that. Again, it is an older subdivision. Part of the appeal of the property was that it did not have the sidewalks. It was allowed to sit back. And that was a big conversation we had 2 years ago when the plan originally was proposed to be had, of adding the sidewalks to it. There's a lot of decisions that are made going into building a home, and setback is one of the biggest decisions, especially when you're buying property out in that area. It's wooded, it's large lots, and you would have approached the design of the home much differently. So that, I concur with our neighbors of how that impacts a homeowner. There's other components that impact a homeowner too that are not being talked about, as well as the cost of maintaining, the expectation of maintaining that sidewalk from a liability standpoint as a homeowner, the capability of maintaining that sidewalk as a homeowner, all fits into challenges and liability concerns that we would have. Living in that particular neighborhood, it drifts. The wind comes in and it drifts significantly. And so right now when it's plowed, it's nothing to have 2.5 feet of snow at the end of the driveway, let alone then having to try to take care of a sidewalk. So all of that aside, what I really wanted to try to talk about tonight was the whole design of the project. Two years ago, it seems like it was longer ago than that, 2 years ago, there was a letter sent from Chamlin's about trying to build out this sidewalk because of the Public Safety Act. And always that we got a grant. I can appreciate grant dollars. I work with grant dollars myself. But to implement a project because you have grant funding for a partial phase of it is not good planning in my opinion. And we're in a big hurry to maximize these dollars, maximize what's covering. As a result of that urgency to do this, I think that we've missed the whole planning part of it and the conversation and the transparency of doing a project like this. For example, as was stated, the sidewalks are hopping all over the place. If you walk and you go and you look, we've got sidewalks on one side in front of our house. It would end mid-block. Mid-block, it ends right there. That does not help any child, any pedestrian who's coming down the street from the house next to me and the house is going up. It just has no sense. So what's being risked then, say that we don't get another grant, how do we pay for extending that sidewalk all the way up the rest of the hill on Clark Street? That is where, that would be the plan to do. So, it's just not all kind of connecting the dots for me. So I'm here, my neighbor across the street to the south, they do not have sidewalks. You go across the street to the south to the next neighbor up to the east, they're having sidewalks. You go to the west, no sidewalks past the middle of our property, where our property ends, right in the middle of the block. So the concern is the whole planning of it, and retrofitting an older subdivision with sidewalks is concerning to me. And because of the plan, how can it really be purposeful and functional to prevent kids from getting hurt, prevent pedestrians from being hurt? There's no continuity, there's no consistency with it. So those were my concerns, those are my comments. I would really appreciate deferring it until we can have a better plan, a comprehensive plan that would really get all the neighborhood on board. I mean, this should not be a fight. It's usually
Ma'am, I would
something
say
very good.
your 5 minutes has elapsed. Do you have anything you'd like to summarize real quick, though?
I've just been requesting that we defer the project until we can further assess the entire plan for consistency and continuity and not have abandoned infrastructure potential available.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Was there any other customers that wanted to talk on this subject before we move to the next one at all? Anything?
As far as the continuity thing is concerned, I would just say regarding the Safe Routes to School grant, I believe the maximum grant's $250,000, correct? And so, I mean, if we don't wanna, I mean, and I believe the city, I don't know specifically for these houses, but I do believe the city has the ability to compel certain homeowners to put sidewalks in at cost for them. So, I mean, if we're going to do this, you know, we can't get more than $250,000 in one swoop. And so, you know, in order to, unless we want to compel people to pay for the sidewalks, or we want to pay for them out of, you know, out of the taxpayer's pocket, one way or the pocket of all Oglesby taxpayers, I mean, ultimately, you know, the grants are the best way to go, and I think the Safe Routes to School grant is the best way to go here. I mean, it's unfortunate, kind of, that it will be kind of piecemeal for the time being, but I certainly think that it should be a priority to put sidewalks in the entirety of that neighborhood, so that's it.
So with that, I'll jump on, because 6 years ago, I think when this conversation started, I do take a little bit, there's been a lot of transparency with this. Now, whether or not people realize that, because I get it, this stuff is very boring, and there's nobody that's tuning in week to week, year to year about these subjects. But this was talked about many, many years ago. We have really different categories of stuff. We have houses that were built inside the city that were built prior to any kind of sidewalk requirement. Then we have houses that were built during the sidewalk requirement, and they actually put sidewalks in. There's about 30 houses that was built when sidewalks were a requirement and didn't put sidewalks in. So we have different categories of stuff. This Safe Route to School grant is trying to solve the areas where sidewalks were never a requirement first, because we don't have a way to go back to doing that. And it wasn't that we're trying to just piecemeal it, it's trying that we didn't know how to necessarily approach that. It's still gonna be a challenge, and that's a political struggle that this board takes. We were thinking it was gonna be the last administration, and I do believe after this Safe Route to School grant is done and that sidewalk's in, then it's on whoever the administration is to talk about what is that next phase. What is it we're gonna do? Are we gonna come out with taxpayer funds to fill the rest of them? Are we going to do something and talk about the situation for the 30 homes that we're supposed to do it? Because you can subdivide that group. There's people that still live here that maybe they were part of the violation 15, 20 years ago, and those people might have been moved on. There might have been somebody that bought a house 20 years ago that never built it, and that house was required to put a sidewalk in, and they never did. Is it their fault? Are we really gonna do? I mean, these are the questions that this board is gonna have to talk about to see how we're gonna get to that next phase to get everywhere. And as far as it doesn't help kids, I don't know if I agree with that. Right now, if there's no, even here, any kids that would be utilizing that, it makes it now connected for them. I understand it's not all the way through, I get that, that's still a problem for another day. But the problem with government, things move slow, and it's a step process at a time.
I would agree, though. I do think it would be good for us to be regularly having conversations or have some sort of a master plan in place for, you know, to the extent that we can put something like that in place. I mean, there's a lot of kind of background work you have to do on that, but I would certainly say I'd like to discuss additional phases. What is the next phase as soon as possible? Because I don't think that we should just do this now and then have it sit like that for 20 years.
I agree.
Absolutely not. I'd just like to say, if I may, I don't mean to cut in, but
No, I'm done.
letters were sent out to the homeowners 10/31/22. I just recently got the approval for the grant. Just, what was it, last year, wasn't it? We finally got the approval?
For this one?
Yeah,
Like in 2024.
24,
Yeah.
okay. So, I'll work with everybody I can, see what I can do. I wrote down your complaints, and I got a few ideas. I'll talk it over with the engineers. As far as going forward, I've already started looking at the others, and we got, like Jason said, we got places that should have put sidewalks in but didn't. People that didn't necessarily need to put sidewalks in but did. And now after a certain time, you're now required to have a sidewalk in front of your yard, in front of your house.
No, I appreciate that.
But-
I appreciate you looking into it, and I
We're
do
looking
agree.
into it.
I think after we get through this construction phase, we're responsible for the next tough conversation of how we're gonna get to that next piece. So, and I understand anytime you're doing something that tries to benefit the totality of the public good, not everybody is going to be satisfied with what that answer is gonna be. I get that. I get that. I don't have a perfect answer for that, but the good is, it's creating more public good than not. So, any other council member have any topic on this?
Well, I would like to thank everybody for coming to the podium and talking about
Yeah,
it. I
thank
really
you.
do appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it. I appreciate a good, candid, a good, positive discussion. All right, C, discussion and possible action on events and budget, Curran. Okay, so we talked about, last time, everybody saw the sheet of how much we spend on some of our items. We got Bark in the Park, Summerfest, Boots Cruise and Barbecue, and Harvest Fest. I posed the idea of creating 3 other minor events. And so the ladies in the office, they came up with a couple of them. I'll go for the first 2. The first 2 are pretty easy. They're basically just schools out one and a schools back in one. Super simple. I wanna say the amount is around, like $4,000 or something. And that might be on the high side. I thought it was really only gonna be
sure,
around
yeah.
2,500 or so. The third item, here's where the irony is. I'm not a super huge fan of the Mardi Gras one, but here's the reason. The reason is it's in February. That, I'm so nervous that it is gonna be highly subjective to weather. Cause keep in mind, our first one officially starts at Bark in the Park in May. I was hoping we'd be talking about April or March, so jumping back to February makes me concerned. However, the one I really wanted to do, and this might be a surprise, I wanted to try to create Oglesby Summer Night Fest. That might have solved the problem. I know Rich is trying to get more things down into, Lehigh Park. My thought was, what if we created an event like, because we brought it up not too long ago about the Boots, Brews, and Barbecue, that maybe we don't sell alcohol at that event. We just keep the street closed for longer, for the car show, and then let people get across. And I'm like, hey, maybe that's the solution, and then we move our second drinking, alcohol, I shouldn't say drinking event, alcohol event, for a 2-day thing that's for the adults in the middle of summer. But couple things changed. We couldn't find a week that works, because again, we don't wanna be taken away from major events. I think the first week in August was, the Corn Festival in Mendota, and then the big summer festival Peru had the week before that. There just wasn't a great time for it. And then with the change of where the car show is modifying, I think we still need to provide alcohol, otherwise it'd just be boots and barbecue. So I'm all for supporting the idea of Mardi Gras, to give it a try. If it does seem, if we have good weather and it's a great event, then it can continue for every year, but I'm for adding those 3 events. And I'll open it up to go around.
Is Utica permanently done doing their Mardi Gras parade?
I don't know, I don't think I've ever gone to theirs.
Yeah, because they did have one. They didn't do it this year. I don't know if they'll do it in the future, but that they do have a Mardi Gras parade. But I don't know. I mean, we had kind of talked last time about events, and we had talked about setting a line item appropriation for each event, I believe is the thing we came to. And so I'm fine with setting a line item for 3 additional events or whatever, but I don't know if we have to necessarily get into the specifics at the council level as to what exactly it consists of. I think that's kind of beyond our purview. But I like the idea. I'm a big Mardi Gras guy, but that's besides the point. I just really like the King's Cake, actually. But anyway, with that being said, I'm fine with setting a line item appropriations for it, but I don't know if we need to get into the details as to.
No, and I won't, because I don't even know like how much of the event is parade.
Yeah.
I think they're still working out the details.
Very much
Same with the
so.
kids' events.
Yeah.
They don't even know if like they're thinking that maybe it's more of like a bar crawl thing where the events are in each location, or is it more of the parade thing? I don't know. I do have questions about that, because when you have a heavily weather influenced event, how that's going to work out. But I'm all for expanding something. It gets more people into the downtown for a reason, so, especially in a time of year that there's not a lot of activity, so. Hillary, do you have any thoughts?
So who does get to determine what the events are then?
Well, we would set like the total, again, not getting into the granular details, but we would set the line item budget for it. And then the clerk's office, the ladies that work the events, stuff like that, they'd be the ones that would kind of set that stuff. And if we as the council don't like it, we offer our suggestions to change it, and if they don't wanna if they won't change it, then we would cut it from the line item budget. That's the authority we would have over the thing, I think. But as long as they keep bringing good events, then I don't think it's an issue. Any thoughts on that? Okay, Matt?
Well, I think events are always good if you could bring them in. I would wonder how they would do the Mardi Gras as well. And Austin did get a good point. If they still, I would want to know too, if they still have the Mardi Gras parade in Utica.
I don't know.
I'd love to steal it though.
Well, we should have it anyway. But
Rich?
How did we come down to this being our options?
They're the ones that they recommended. I mean, I was hoping we would be talking about Summer Night Fest, but the timing did not work out, unfortunately. The rest of the summer is pretty much packed between events everywhere. And we wanted to make sure we had at least a little bit of separation from Fun Fest. We didn't want to have it within like a month of Fun Fest. I think
So
having,
this is it, there's no
well, we can always add more.
discussion or, no, I don't wanna add more, I'm just saying basically that you threw these out here and this is what you either eat it or don't.
No, this is what was recommended by them, and I wanted something different, but it didn't pan out. So these are the 3 that they recommend. We can always add more. I thought this would be, again, I want to get into the point where we're having more events, and then maybe more organizations take them over to where we don't have to do them anymore. Is there something you'd rather do instead?
No.
Okay, did anybody have an issue? Now, the good news is, since we're not doing the Night Fest thing, that would be in the summer. It's really not a big deal. The Mardi Gras one would go into the line item appropriation budget if anybody has any issues with that. But the big thing I'd like to at least get concurrence on is if anybody has any issues with the summer out and the summer start ones. Cause we can get them started with those at least this year to make that happen.
Probably not the school out because it's
really?
happening, I mean, school's
It's
out
not
in
far
like
away, yeah.
2 weeks
Okay.
or 3 weeks, month maybe at the most, but definitely the
unfortunate.
back to school one.
Okay, so we'd be looking at for this year possibly
Yeah.
only the back to school one, and then if everybody's good with the line item budget, maybe the Mardi Gras. Is that a relatively accurate assumption? Anybody have a major issue with that? Cause I'll have them start, we'll have them start planning at least for the school back in
Yep.
one for now, and then we'll get everything into the
Do
line.
we have a budget for these, or?
That is the rough budget. I mean, we would just approve the, right there. Yeah, it was sent, it should be in the drive that was sent out to everybody. So basically, the bottom numbers is what we would approve in the line item thing. Same thing with the other ones as well. Any concerns?
Yeah, help. I don't know if we've got amnesia or what would happen here, but we had problems here with the 4 that we do have. I'm confused as to how you just start throwing these out here when we had no help. And I'm quite confident that the employees at this point don't really still want to give up their Saturday nights and Sundays any more than they wanted to
That's a good
6 months ago, a year ago, I guess it was, when we hired the 2 assistants in there, so,
Are you saying for volunteers?
for everything,
Right.
yeah. For
I
putting on
thought-
these parties. You didn't have enough before, so we had to hire the 2 clerks, the assistant clerks,
Yeah.
event coordinators. That was to help us get through Summer Fun Fest last year, because we were afraid we weren't gonna get through that with no help.
That's good.
So now we skidded through that,
And we
and now
did.
here we are gonna throw more on. I'm just wondering if anybody's thinking ahead here, because I don't see all this help rushing in.
Well, I haven't seen, to my knowledge, we haven't been short, I mean, sometimes it's a challenge to get them, but I think we haven't had to cancel an event due to lack of volunteers yet, as far as my knowledge. I mean, if that does have to happen, I'd say we cross that bridge when it comes to it. Right, if there's nothing else on the topic, we can move on. I'm not trying to strong arm, does anybody have anything else they wanna add to it? Okay. Number 10, new business. A, discussion and possible action on Cortileno's drive-in show request. They put a request letter, I don't think I have the print off here.
I have it right up here.
They put a request letter in, they wanna have an event out there, in the grass lot. Anytime somebody wants to put an event out there, I think it's great. He even put a mention in there how no alcohol will be allowed, there, so I think even putting that in there, I think that's wonderful. Go around the room if anybody has any concerns with something like that.
I believe we did the same thing last year. All for it.
Yep.
No problem.
I'm all for it.
Rich?
Same thing.
All right, well, let's, if I can get someone to get a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion that we approve Cardellino's drive-in show request.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. B, discussion and possible action on Camenisch Variance, Cullinan.
Okay, so it was just on there. I'm not the expert on this, so it was just on there because Jen needed to attribute it to somebody. So, this is kind of a complex issue. I know obviously Brian had sent us a letter
tell us
on
like
it,
it
but
is.
I don't know, Pat, would you be able to kind of recap what the zoning board of appeals ultimately
Well,
determined?
and Dan, the chairman of
Yeah.
the zoning board, is here, but essentially there was an extended conversation about it, and both parties were here that night, and the conclusion of the board was that there was not a hardship to the Camenishes by denying their request for variance. And so their recommendation to the board, to the council, was to deny the request for variance, to allow him to build that 25-foot extension of the fence, not 18 inches off the property line, which was the nature of the variance request.
Okay. So I guess my question on this is, Brian had said, or I believe his wife wrote the letter, but she had said in the letter that a number of years ago, Brian, what year did you put up that fence and that shed?
I believe the shed was put up in 2021 along with the fence, same time.
Okay, so in 2021, you, so I know is the setback, is it correct that the setback for the fence is 5 feet? Is that, or not the fence, the shed?
The shed.
Yeah, the
is
shed's
5
5
yes.
feet. And so the fence is 18 inches
Correct.
back, and the fence is over, is it not?
The fence is nearly on the I think the fence is nearly on the property.
So I can-
Yeah, please, yeah.
Please. Sorry.
So originally, the fence was 18 inches off the property line based on the pins that both houses were built on. My neighbor had the contractor make sure that the markings were marked by our survey prior to them buying the lot, and which made my rear neighbor move his shed back, which is like, it's about a foot off the property line now, before they would buy the lot. So in short, both houses were built off of the pins. So they're both 6.5 feet off of it. He built his fence right after he built his house, 22 inches off of it for his lawnmower. I built mine 18 inches off of it, and I also put 18 inches of CA6, which was in my permit, along the 18 inches down the line. So obviously I didn't have to mow it. It's no maintenance. Our plan was to finish the rest of the fence, but if anybody knows how much vinyl fence costs, it's not very cheap. We didn't have the money at the time, and we were gonna do it in segments. What happened was our neighbor built the fence, which was clearly built in violation of city ordinance for a corner lot. It was approved by our former building inspector and put up. And then, along with various, but we're not gonna get into it. But anyways, the city, it's clearly on city property. So the city wanted them to move it. They refused to move it. In this fight, both the city and the homeowner had the lot resurveyed, and the pin in my front was approximately 10 inches off. In the back, I don't remember the exact amount, but instead of being 18 inches off, it's about 4 inches at the front of my fence. It slants backwards to the corner of my shed, which is right on the property line. So instead of being 18 inches off, it's right on the property line. So, in short, it's still on my property. Keep in mind that there's been no complaints about this since this was done, I believe, in 22. We're in 26. Last year, just to recap, my neighbor to the north approached me about putting up a fence. He asked me if he could put it on the property line. I said, yeah, no problem. There's appropriate paperwork to do that. We would be okay with that. And then he said he didn't have the money at the time. This year, we had enough money to do it. We approached him, did the proper paperwork. Yes, we didn't have it notarized yet, but we sent it in with our variance request to show that they had agreed to it, which we plan on having it notarized. We went through all the processes to do it the proper way. Our neighbor to the north also wants it on the property line, has agreed to, has done the proper paperwork. All we were asking for is, we went through the pain to have our own survey done, go through the cost to have the variance done. We're just looking for 25 feet aesthetically, put it off there to finish it. We're not moving the shed, we're not moving the fence. All we wanna do is put it straight down the line. It seems pretty simple. I think that there's just an issue just because of a neighborhood dispute.
Sure.
Not caused by us. We're trying to do everything the right way, which we have done since we built our house.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite on the other side, but again, I'm not gonna get into that.
Sure. So, with the shed, from what I'm understanding with the fence, there's not really an issue with where the fence is at. Initially, there wasn't an issue with where the fence was at, but there is an issue because of where the pins were placed or
Correct.
misplaced. But there is an issue with where the shed is at because,
No, there isn't.
Well, there's a 5-foot setback and it's not 5 feet setback. But
That is correct.
You
So-
were told
So,
differently.
please keep in mind that we approached the city in
Yeah.
21. We have all the emails asking
Sure.
the process for a variance to be able to put our shed within 18 inches.
Sure.
And we were told we didn't need to have that we could put it with 18 inches. And I don't know if that's because it's not considered a permanent structure, because it can be moved. I don't know the reasoning. Mr. Kleinhardt is here. He's the one that we were told, said that we had to make sure that it was just 18 inches back from the line. We have all that documentation. Even though we approached the city multiple times to ask how we could do a variance, at least request a variance for that.
Sure.
So again, we were trying to do everything the right way. We knew what the ordinance was. We were asking for a variance. It's not that we tried to trick the building inspector.
Sure. Yeah, of
and
course.
did it. We went through the whole process of doing everything the right way.
Sure.
Just like we're doing now too.
Yeah.
We're just trying to do everything the right way.
Yeah, of course. Jim, I mean, is that the case? I mean,
I don't have a recollection of saying
Okay.
that the 18 inches off.
I'm just gonna say the building isn't the issue, is it?
Well, and we could produce the emails.
Yeah, of
We
course.
have the emails. I think she actually might have included them. I don't, my wife said. some
I think she
paperwork.
said maybe upon request or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
we can produce
Okay.
that, so.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting Jim on the spot.
No,
I
no,
know
of
this
course.
is back
Yeah.
5 years ago, but it's not something we're just making up.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, I mean, just if I was your neighbor, I wouldn't have an issue with it. I don't know why it's been made to be the issue that it is. But with that being said, it still presents a legal issue, I suppose. And I suppose that's probably why the Zoning Board of Appeals ultimately didn't find that there's a hardship. I would agree with you. I think what you were saying about how ridiculous it would look to have, you know, your actual fence set back.
Well, I think Mr. Fitzgerald also agreed with.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think it would look ridiculous, but it's just, you know.
But not to cut you off, but
No,
keep
you're
in
good.
mind, not only does it look ridiculous,
Yeah.
it's somewhat of a hardship.
Yeah.
But then again, how am I gonna care for that property?
Of course, yeah.
Now that brings in a hardship, because if my neighbor completes his fence all the way to the back, how do I access that 18 inches?
Yeah, I just wanna move
Yeah,
this
go
along
ahead.
because now I feel like we're getting into the public comment section, which you did have already. This is your time to talk though, but if you wanna ask some
I'm only
questions.
answering his question.
Oh, yeah,
So,
no,
I get it, I get it.
I mean, if I wanna get
Yeah,
into
no.
some ordinances we're granted to be violated, I guess we could do that too.
You're fine.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
but I don't know. Like what I would say is I just kind of it's just kind of an issue of we either follow the ordinances or we don't. And I mean, obviously, as you said, the property to the south of you, there's a few ordinances that need to be addressed there. And so, you know, I'm kind of I don't know on these type of matters. I mean, how much how advisable you know it is to kind of I guess piecemeal would be the word I would use here too. You know, these different things and make cutouts for people here because of this, because of that. I mean, certainly on a civil level, you know, I think if you and your neighbor could reach some sort of a resolution, which I think would ultimately be ideal. I don't know how open they are to that, of course.
And we haven't had a good relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got keep out lines and ropes
Sure.
and everywhere
Yeah,
else.
of course.
We would have no problem presenting them with the paperwork that our other neighbors did.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have, at the variance, said that they would be fine with that if they signed signed the same
Yeah.
paperwork. We have no issue with that.
Yeah.
It's just that we anticipated, and clearly we were right, that they
Yeah.
were not interested in being cordial with that.
Yeah. So I don't know instinctively, and I'm not saying my mind can't be changed on this, but I would kind of err towards the side of making sure the ordinances are enforced, and I mean that would obviously that would present some. There probably wouldn't be a popular answer among you or your neighbor. If something couldn't be sorted out at a civil level, I would say we would have to. I would think we should make sure the ordinances are being enforced.
The ordinances haven't been in effect since 2019.
Well, yeah,
We
I
built
know,
the
and
house, so now all of a sudden
that's
we're
that's
going to
that's part of the
decide
issue.
we're going to pick and choose.
Sure,
when
sure.
Somebody's throwing stones that lives in a glass house just
Sure.
to make problems.
Sure, no, I get it.
I
But
mean,
I mean,
this is a
yeah.
unique situation.
It's a very
this
unique
is not
situation.
like just a random.
But
I mean,
yeah.
and city in part is part of this
Yeah.
issue. Okay?
No, yeah.
Where they moved forward with this and then
Yeah.
didn't follow through.
Yeah.
So now I'm left
Sure.
with doing everything the right way
Yeah.
and then reaping the benefits of doing things the right way.
Yeah, and we're kind of in the same situation in that, you know, this was kind of the hand that was dealt to us, and now we have to make, you know, the difficult
Mhm.
decision one way or another. Yeah, it's you know, but with that being said, I even just because something, you know, it's been that way since 2019 or even earlier. You know, one of the things I'll mention in my commissioner's report tonight is we've been, you know, making an emphasis to focus on property management. And there's been houses that have not been compliant with city ordinance for, you know, decades. And so we're making an effort to crack down on those, and I'll provide an update on that in my commissioner's report. But I just, you know, even, you know, if something, you know, if it's just the way that it's been, I don't necessarily think that's the way it should be, because that's how we kind of get ourselves into these situations. So it's a messy thing. I don't want to keep talking though. I mean, I'll pass it off to, you know, Commissioner Moyle, but it is a tricky situation, obviously, very unique. I agree with you.
Hillary?
So ultimately, I did listen to the hearing, and it is such a small part of a fence. Really, it's like what, 25 feet?
It's 25 feet, 18 inches.
And
18
already
inches
a
off
majority
25
of the
feet.
fence
A
is on
majority
the
of-
property
So
line.
25 feet is less from, it's like from here to like that wall.
And from what I understand, the only reason he was against, your neighbor was against, I was hoping he would be here, was that he wasn't asked, right? I mean, is that,
I don't know.
am I summarizing
claimed
that
That
correctly?
my shed was moving and that there was
Which is
gravel.
irrelevant, we're talking about a
There's
fence.
just some, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And again, I would extend this same exact paperwork to them that I did to.
If you were my neighbor and I didn't get along with you, I would love to put a giant fence up to never look at you again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
So, but it's almost.
Right on
too-
the property line.
Keep in mind too, it's like a no man's land because of our ordinance in Oglesby. There's nothing in between those fences that, it's not affecting anything.
Right.
I mean, it's not like they're growing flowers or have a garden on 18, I mean, it's just a no man's land.
But I understand also telling him that, you know, we're gonna do this even though you're against it, which is why I wish he was here to give me a little bit more information of what he's really against here.
They should be here, actually.
But he's not, so I don't have a problem. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect anybody besides the two of you, and ideally, it sounds like you guys really don't get along. Put up the biggest fence possible
And it's not
not
really-
look at
it's
each
It's only
other.
6 feet. Now, come on, we gotta stay within the ordinance.
I get along with everyone else in my neighborhood. I would get along with them fine too. I think there's just some kind of ongoing, I don't know. I can't explain, take too long.
All right.
So anyways, it doesn't affect anyone except for my neighbor to the rear would have to look at the ridiculousness, or if he finishes it, I can't access that.
And Pat, maybe this is a good question to you, is the fence is not in line with the ordinance now, but he has an approved building permit. We can't,
For the building, because,
for the fence too, though,
well,
correct?
I don't think it specifies a footprint.
I think what he's referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a mistake that was made that the city did. The city approved the building being that close to the fence. It's not supposed to be, but it is approved because the city made that mistake. The part that's not the city's mistake is where the location of the fence is, though. Is that pretty accurate?
No.
Okay, what do I have wrong?
Because you approved it, that it was 18 inches off at the time, and it's now not 18 inches off, but it's already there, it's on my property as well. Therefore, a public agent has already approved it, so if you want, we could litigate it, I've already.
Because even after the
It-
completion of a
again,
fence, the
Pat and I have
building
talked,
inspector has to
estoppel
come
applies.
and.
There's
One-
case
one at a
law on it.
time.
I don't wanna get into
One
it.
at a time, one at a time. I don't know if I agree with that, because the building permit didn't specify that it said, this is exactly where, it gave the rules, and then the fence goes up in a spot that's not supposed to be, so the city
But
wasn't.
in good faith, everybody thought that was the
Correct.
line.
Did he measure the pins wrong, or where everything was? I mean, we weren't responsible for that, we didn't do that part.
You approved it.
But, no.
Okay, but I'm not gonna agree to it, okay?
Okay, all right.
Just for litigation
No
purposes,
problem.
I'm not gonna agree to it.
Sounds good. All right, Hillary, do you have anything else?
I guess my question was, you know, quit talking about his property since he's gonna argue, but even the neighbor's property here, with this fence outside on the city property, we
Yes.
approved that.
No.
So they don't have
Wait.
a permit
Wait.
to put a fence out?
Okay.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
hold it.
How
So-
can we force him to fix it?
We've done two,
Absolutely.
so Commissioner Stefanelli did, okay, I've said this so many times, though, I know, so one more thing to add. So Commissioner Augubright started the whole thing, trying to solve the thing going forward, so we wouldn't have a sidewalk problem like that.
That's not true,
Stefan,
Jason.
hold on,
The
hold on.
ordinance was already in effect.
Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Camenisch?
Well, I'm just not gonna let you say that, because I built my house in 2018, there was an escrow for me to put a sidewalk in, as there was in 2019, and somebody, I don't know who was, let them not do it along with covering up a pothole, or a thing that, what do you wanna go with? A
Sir, there was
sewer-
escrow requirements, but there was not a specific escrow requirement for sidewalk. Tommy Augubright created that, right?
Again, gonna disagree with you.
Okay. The part I created was because this fence was in the wrong spot, and it was just because of words, everybody was on the thing. I put something in the new thing, that anytime that a fence is supposed to go up, there's supposed to be markings on the ground. So that way, when the building inspector gets there, there's not this problem of, hey, this is where we're going with the fence. Absolutely, that sounds like that should be the plan. And then all of a sudden comes back later and be like, that's not where it was supposed to go. That's where you told me it was gonna go. So that's why there's markings now that is.
I think if
become
their
part of the
building
requirement.
inspector at the time read the ordinance at all, you would realize that's not even close to being within the ordinance.
It's 5 feet off. It's because there was a
It's not
disagreement.
5 feet off, the corner's like 25 feet off at 4 feet.
There was a disagreement with, where they thought that 5 foot, the easement right away, all that stuff was supposed to start. So that's what caused some of the issues with that. And then the question is, how do you enforce that? And it's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. Can we agree on that?
Is
Wow.
that property a mess? Yes.
Okay.
It's mine,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, did you have anything else?
I guess legally, can we enforce anybody to move anything that's out there now?
Yeah, that's my question
We-
too.
Well, that's the question I was gonna ask.
Well, so that's the thing. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
We've sent plenty of, believe me, Mayor Rivera has attacked this pretty strongly. And very upset that we couldn't get a lot of motion on that. The thing was, we were gonna have to take litigation or take a lien against the property. And then the argument that they had was, there's 29 other properties in the city that did not put their sidewalks in. And technically, they should have been held accountable to do so. So why are we not taking litigation against everybody?
Can we not do anything about the fence?
Well, so that's the thing, the fence is gonna have to move, or get the damn sidewalk in.
Well, I mean, the fence could be,
How are you gonna put in safe sidewalks there if that fence is on the?
That's why they're gonna have to
There
take
you
a
go.
panel out and move it back.
There you go.
I-
There's your answer.
As I said, we were talking about safe route to school, I think when the safe route to school thing's in, that next phase that we need to talk about is, what are we doing about the rest of the sidewalks throughout the city that we said we were gonna have a plan for? And that is definitely gonna be one of those
Well,
properties
I
to talk
can
about.
tell you, that's been brought up here before,
Yep.
previous.
Yep, so I
I
don't wanna
mean,
keep going
enforce
round
one
and
if
round
you're
on
not
that, that's
gonna
what I said I
put-
didn't wanna do. Okay,
I'm done.
okay, Matt, did you have anything?
Well, she asked my question, I agree. Doesn't make much sense. We got somebody to put a fence where it doesn't belong, it's gonna affect the sidewalk. We're gonna have to do something about that.
Okay. Rich?
And they should have been here.
No, personally, I feel we could've went out there and put the fence up by now.
Yep.
This time here, but,
You got it.
Yep.
Well, and I could have done that too, and then
Yeah.
just said,
So,
I tried to do everything the right way.
So
Or I should
here-
say we.
okay,
Was there an
So-
easement
And I'm
that
gonna
went
sit
through
down
there,
for you,
Brian?
Jason, okay?
Wait just one second,
Unless you
Brian.
may stay up.
Wasn't there some argument or something about an easement that goes through there for the electrical? Between the two property lines, or
Yeah,
along the
but I think
property
if you
line?
went through the whole entire city, there's,
I think it was I think we were talking about in the back.
in the back,
I think
so.
the back there was
The
something.
line runs,
Yeah, it's
there's electrical line that runs down the line and then cuts through my yard briefly and then goes under his fence into his thing. So my fence is wide open, it's not locked, his is not. I mean, if there was an issue with electrical, there's issues that can be able to be, or access that can be addressed at any point. I mean, that doesn't even, is not reasonable if you looked at all the fences throughout the city. I mean, it's
Okay.
just the grass to make a reasoning.
When was Cienza's, or I shouldn't maybe say the name, but when was the property to the south constructed?
2019.
2019, so there should have
Mhm.
been
There should have been
sidewalk funds in
sidewalks.
escrow, and there weren't, or?
The-
There should have been.
The way it was written, it was not specific, so there was an escrow, but it wasn't taken for sidewalks. That's why Tommy.
I thought we said Tommy did that in 2019 though, or he did that after
Did it after,
this?
because of this.
Oh, okay.
I put the part in about making sure that the ground gets marked for fences and all this stuff like that.
I don't wanna make this go any longer, Jason, but
I appreciate
I'm
that.
pretty sure that it says in there you have to put a sidewalk in before the occupancy
I don't think
permit could
anybody's
be signed.
arguing that a sidewalk needs to be.
And there was an escrow in place too, it wasn't the Tommy Auger ordinance that made everything right.
Okay. Well, it
Sorry.
didn't, because Stefanelli came back to polish off the rest of the items.
That's not my problem.
Okay, I know it's not. All right, Rich, did you have anything else?
No.
Okay, so, okay,
Appreciate it.
I completely agree with what Austin's merit is what he's saying here. That it's, anytime we start making special rules and stuff, we create problems for later on. I get that, and I completely agree with, I appreciate Dan Fitzgerald and all of the board, that they look at that black and white, because that's what they're supposed to do, right? They're supposed to look at what is the rules, what is this supposed to be for a variance and not, and so it doesn't qualify. It just doesn't. So, however, I completely empathize with the idea that you have attempted to do everything right, and everything that has gone wrong in this situation has been to your disadvantage. And I recognize that I really wish this would just be a civil issue between two neighbors. Just sign off on the division fence and call it good, take us out of it. We don't have to be involved, right? They don't want to do that. So then it takes it on to the city. I don't like the idea of the city overriding that because they have a right to say, I want my neighbors to be to code. They have that right. I do think it becomes hypocritical though, when they say that and they have this issue here. So it puts us in a situation. I wanna just hand wave the situation and say, go ahead and do it, right? And approve the variance. But then we put ourselves in a situation like Austin was talking about. So I don't know. So I'm willing to go with what the majority is here. I had a different suggestion, but it might not be as popular. Did you say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, the issue is even with what I'm suggesting, I mean, if we, and what the zoning board of appeals suggested, I mean, is if you strictly follow the ordinance as it is, I mean, again, we're gonna have to compel your neighbor to your south to move that fence, we're gonna have to compel them to put it in a sidewalk, and then, I mean, as far as your fence is concerned and your shed is concerned, I mean, I understand you were told one thing, obviously, but technically, by ordinance, right, you were told one thing from what
By
I
ordinance,
understand.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but by ordinance, yeah, they're not where they're supposed to be. And so, are we, if
Not
if we're
by
gonna-
my fault either.
Yeah, well, I don't definitively know the facts on that. I would have to look at, the records, and I'd very much appreciate the records. But I mean, if we're gonna tell them to move that fence, we're gonna tell them to put in a sidewalk, then I feel at that point, we have to tell you to move your shed and move your fence. And so, that's the issue with following the ordinance to the letter of the law, but I don't know how much I like making these carve-outs, especially when one party doesn't consent. I mean, if it was a civil issue, I'd be totally all for it. No questions asked. I mean, if you two could sort that out between yourselves, totally on board. But I think it presents an issue.
So do we need an arbitrator?
And I think that they would have I think that they would have a valid complaint, and I mean, they could, potentially, litigate it. So, I mean, I think it's a messy issue.
Yes.
For 18 inches at 25 feet.
Okay, so everybody's had an opportunity to weigh in. Now the question is, we need an action, right? The action is either to deny the variance, approve the variance, or some other combination of something.
Can I just ask, what was your idea?
I appreciate you asking that.
I wanna know.
So my idea, is I wanna respect the board of what the zoning board put together. And, cause they looked at it as the black and white, and they said the variance should be denied. So I think today, we should sustain that. However, I do believe there's extenuating circumstances, and some of the stuff that's happened, that's caused the situation for his property, is because of the situation down south. So, since we want everybody to be in code, my thoughts were that, we give 60 days for that property to be 100% in code, which is they have their sidewalk in, they have their fence moved back, and they're 100% to code. If they are, I say the variance stays denied, and therefore, they have a requirement, since they're staying within code, that means you should have a requirement to make whatever modifications you have to also be in code. However, if 60 days go by and they have chose not to do that,
Then we approve
I would
his?
say we approve the variance.
But-
And that's a little unconventional, but to me, it's one way that we're trying to put pressure to create the public good.
But then he fixes the neighbor to the south fixes those two things, puts in the sidewalk and puts in the fence, and then we're telling Brian to move his fence and move his shed. So, I mean,
Well, he wouldn't move his
If the variance
shed.
is already approved then, so that gives them 60 days to make that happen.
If they
That was my
haven't moved
thought.
their fence or put their sidewalk in since 2019, what makes you think they're gonna do it in 60 days?
Right.
And
Because
why
they-
is that fair to me that I have to wait another 60 days to finish my fence?
It was an idea.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm just.
I'm trying to
saying-
find the best
So-
way to compromise to get everybody in code.
Right.
Again, this is
That's
a
what
very
you-
unique situation
Mhm.
that I think we're spending too much time on. I think
We
there's
definitely
better
are.
business to be done.
We
There's
definitely-
25 feet, 18 inches. All I ask you to do is approve it. It's not something that is going to come up probably ever again in Oglesby's history with that situation.
Oh.
And I think we're spending way too much time on this.
There's a lot of little errors like that throughout the city, so I would definitely say it's
Well,
not so.
I've lived here for a long time, longer than you, so.
Dan Fitzgerald, Brian, if we could, I'd love to have Dan Fitzgerald
Thank you.
come up and speak, please.
Thanks, Brian.
thank you, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
I appreciate all the work that you
Thanks
do
for
with all these
staying.
things.
Thanking you after this.
This is pretty fast so far. Come on, we're doing pretty good.
Okay, I just want to give, I'm Dan Fitzgerald, Chair of the Oklahoma Zoning Board of Appeals. I just wanna give the zoning board's perspective on this. You know, the land development code, call it a code or an ordinance, whatever you wanna call it, it's a law, okay? And when someone comes to the zoning board of appeals requesting a variance, they're asking for an exception for them to the law. They are asking to be excused from a provision of the law that applies to everyone. There should be a high standard for that, and we set kind of a high standard, and there are criteria within the zoning ordinance, within the land development code, that we apply to making the decision as to whether a variance should be granted. In this case, you know, black and white, yeah, I like being black and white, but, you know, I worked in an organization for many years where I had to make many decisions, and I know that most times, there really isn't black and white. There's a lot of gray. And in this case, it was like, this was overwhelmed with gray. And it was division fences to the west and to the north. It was easements, and it was the fence, the property to the south wasn't in compliance, and pins were moved, and it was just, it went on and on. And we had to clear that out. You know, we had to just set that aside, because it just got like, what is the point here? The point is that you have an ordinance that says that your fences are supposed to be 18 inches off of the property line, unless there are criteria, unless the petitioner meets this criteria for a variance. And all of these other issues, although I understand why Brian and his wife are like, how is this fair? I understand that, but it's pretty difficult to apply a standard to say, well, because this happened, because someone else got away with something, well, you can too. And we don't do that in law enforcement. If 3 cars are going down a road.
That's true.
You know, if 3 cars are going down a road, and they're all going, you know, about the same amount of speed, and a police officer catches them with a radar gun, and he goes out and he pulls one person over, because he only got one on the gun, and he gives that guy a speeding ticket. And that guy shows up in court and says, well, Your Honor, there are 2 other cars. One guy actually passed me. He was going faster than me. How's that fair to me to get this ticket? Well, I think we know that the story ends there. We know what the judge is gonna say. Because one person got away, because 2 people got away with it, does not mean you do. And I don't mean to imply here that Mr. and Mrs. Camenisch are trying to get away with something. I truly appreciate the fact that you have taken all the steps you have to do this in the proper manner, because the city is replete with people who were unaware of the law or chose to ignore it. You actually chose to follow the law, and I appreciate that very much. But I also appreciate the fact that there is a family that borders that property who has a right to the enjoyment of their property too. And they expressed an objection to this. Whether people around gave permission, they agree to a division fence. The family to the south does not. Does it have to do with a relationship? Well, probably. Get it. But the fact is, clearing out all the other reasons that we have here, from the division fences and the prior misplacement of pins and the prior, you know, the fence and the lack of sidewalk. The question is, should we compound this problem by granting a variance to put a fence, to enforce, to put a division fence, to require that family to the south to accept a division fence when they don't want to? Because that's what the effect of this will be. The family to the west, the family to the north, they agree to a division fence. The family to the south does not. And we will be requiring them to have a division fence. The fact that they don't comply with the zoning ordinance, the zoning land development code, is irrelevant to me. What the board determined was, there was that, and this may be in the eye of the beholder. Members of the council may view this differently, but unanimously, the Board of Appeals did not feel that requiring that fence to be 18 inches off the property line albeit only 25 feet. The fact that the unanimously agreed it was not a hardship. Is it going to be the most aesthetically appealing? Well, I don't know. Again, that may be in the eye of the beholder. But that was the decision. Does that fence, being 18 inches off, requiring it to be 18 inches off the property line for 25 feet, present a hardship? And the board unanimously believed it did not. So at what point, when we get down to all of these issues that we have all over the city with zoning ordinances not enforced or exceptions that people chose to ignore or just weren't aware of, do we compound that by handing out variances that do not comply with the code? Now, that's up to you to decide, all right? I say, you know, the board, I was one of 4 votes there. One member chose to abstain because of a personal relationship, a working relationship with Mr. Camenisch. And there's nothing personal about this. I don't know the family to the south. Brian, I slightly know. We served on a Camenisch City Committee together years ago, and thought he was an honorable guy in his role there. So it's not anything like that. It's just, you know, unanimously, we just didn't think it presented a hardship. So all those other things, I get it. It's confusing, but it's not. I don't think it is.
Dan, I appreciate you so much for everything. No, seriously, because you're cutting through the gray to try to make the black and white out of it and letting us know. I really do appreciate that.
Well,
No, you can't. No, sir. No, sir. There is a public comment for any topic afterwards that you can. If somebody from the council invites you up, that's a different story.
well, I'm glad to entertain any questions before I get to join Brian.
Does anybody have any
Well-
questions for Mr. Fitzgerald?
I got a statement. If the ordinance is the ordinance, we should abide by the ordinance. If they don't wish to have it moved over, I understand that. But we're also gonna have to look into the sidewalk issue and their fence issue on the other side.
I think that would be the plan.
That is the only way to justify it.
I agree with you.
And I would suggest that both parties come forward at the same night if we do decide postpone the
Are you making a
decision.
motion?
I understand you like that promotion.
Does anybody have anything else to talk about on the
I just
topic?
think that's
Okay.
what we should do. We need both parties here.
Thank you,
to make
Dan.
a cut decision. The other party needs to understand if you're gonna enforce this, we have now become aware that the sidewalks, the fence will have to be moved for the sidewalks.
So are we tabling this? Is that what we're getting
I,
to? Can we move
well,
on?
Your
or is
options
there
are
something-
deny, approve, something else, or table.
I
I
suggest
suggest
table.
that we table it and let them try and work something out with that neighbor, knowing that that's the repercussions if they want to force this to go any further, and we move on right now.
Absolutely.
It's either
Okay.
that
I
or not.
second that
I
motion.
agree with that.
All right, is
Okay.
there any other
Well,
I think you
discussion?
got first, second right here.
Is there any other discussion? We're gonna table. The only thing I would say with that is that we should,
Thanks, Rich.
I just don't wanna table it indefinitely, right?
Well, no.
Maybe next
Next-
week we start our conversation about the greater, I wanted to wait until the sidewalks were done with the safe route, but maybe we started even sooner with starting that conversation up.
I will
No,
say
we got
though,
to.
I do
Thanks,
think at
Rich.
some point though, there's gonna have to be a conversation about that fence and their sidewalk.
Well, that's
just-
when the
but that's the
sidewalks are
thing,
what
like,
it is.
I don't necessarily know how I mean, it'd be kinda great, you know, if, you know, it was like, hey, you know, in exchange for, you know, you allowing me to put this fence up, I won't complain about your fence and your sidewalk and have you, you know, move your fence and put in a sidewalk. But that's not the way it's gonna be able to work. I think we do need to enforce the ordinances as they are, and so ultimately, I mean, what that might end up resulting in is, you know, them moving their fence, putting in a sidewalk, and, I mean, Brian's, you know, fence and shed would also be out of code, but I don't know the exact history behind that, and I would ask Brian
Yeah,
to
but you
give
can't
me the
make a decision
documentation
on
for that,
one
so
without
I can look at
justifying
that.
the
You're looking
other.
to make a competing motion.
No, I'm
Okay.
not.
So then that means the vote.
Yes.
The motion
There's
has
a
been
motion and a
made,
second on the
table it
table.
until
You guys know
next
what
week.
that,
I just-
that is the thing.
I just
You
wanna
could
be
have-
clear.
You could have two people make a
Yes.
motion on one thing
Right.
and two other people make a motion on
Yes.
something completely different.
Yeah.
But we
I
don't
just
need
wanna be
do
clear that what I'm suggesting is that we enforce the ordinances, so.
Okay, so
Motion
the
was
motion
made,
and the
second.
second on the table is to table it. Can I get a roll call, please?
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Like to
Aye.
see 'em
Curran.
next week.
Aye. Sir, I really would re-emphasize that you try to talk with your neighbors again to see if they can solve it via the division fence issue, because I think it's gonna go into the greater conversation about all the sidewalks throughout the city. Okay, C, discussion and possible action on tri-county opportunities request, Curran. So this was a letter that we got in, I sent out to the council. They're looking for just basically support. They want a signed support letter for whatever reason, that they want to be able to try to help with opportunities on dilapidated homes and things like that. So, anybody have any questions, concerns about this? We can go around the room. Cullinan?
After all, we're doing is signing something, no?
No. Well, there's no money or anything involved with anything, just that we're supporting them.
Nope.
I have no problem with it.
Rich?
I'd be happy to support a good cause.
All right, sounds good. Can I get a motion and a second to approve it?
Make a motion to, Tri-County Opportunities, request.
And I'll second it.
Yeah, it's a weird word. Yeah, to approve the recommendation that they have.
fine.
Okay. First, motion and second, roll call,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry, who did the
Mac.
second? Oh, Mac,
Those
sorry
two.
about that, Mac. Baldridge,
We just changed this time.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
All right. D, discussion of possible action to fix and upgrade Mallick Road stoplights, Baldridge.
I'd like to express my gratitude to our electric department superintendent, Marincic. Although I admit there have been times waiting at those stoplights when I may have mentioned a few curse words, I have come to realize that there's much more behind their proper operation. I won't go into detail, but I've learned that he has gone as far as searching and purchasing from eBay to obtain the obsolete parts the past few years. This 30-year-old system is done. The loops in the road have been broken for a very long time. The camera fix bought us a few years. Now even more has deteriorated and cannot be repaired in any way. The stoplight company electricians, Clegg Perkins, has informed us that we do have to upgrade now. I would like to pass something up to $65,000 to replace the stoplights at.
Is that what it'll
Wow.
cost, or
Wow.
I
Is
don't
it
know
both lights?
you don't know?
That'll be for that section there.
Oh, okay.
So we still have others that are probably that same age, whatever 39's been built since 1997.
Well, I know that one had particularly bad, because I remember telling me that it has a bad
Complaints.
design. If you see water, when we get water, if you ever seen the guys have to do maintenance on that, that box that controls all the equipment, it is all 100% underwater.
No, that's nice.
It's pretty crazy. Keep going around the room. Do you have anything?
Figure we have to do it, so.
Heather? Mac?
Well, we definitely have to do it. You say how much?
Up to $65,000, I believe.
To 60,000.
Wow. That's more than the, I'm trying to think,
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
It's bad.
yeah, I didn't know it was gonna be quite that high. I remember when we did the ones at Lewis Avenue, they went to a new system that used a camera thing, and I can't remember how much.
They tried that already. It's
Did
there.
they already do that?
Working.
I
All
can't
the-
remember when that
everything's
was.
shot there.
That wasn't an option, so they looked at
They-
multiple
they're
options?
They're out of options. That's,
Well, if they're out of options.
stop sign there.
And we are if I'm correct, we are 100% responsible for this light, is that correct?
I think a few of them.
Or is that split? Because I know there's something that's split with the state.
Split is, 251 Supins.
And this one's, us
The
that we
rest
own.
are ours.
All right, do you feel confident that you've looked into all the ulterior options we have?
If Clegg Perkins says it, they know a hell of a lot more than I'm ever gonna know, so, yes.
All right, and they gave us a quote.
Yeah.
I mean, if we ask the questions, I don't know what else there is to do. All right, anybody else have any other topic on there?
I'd just like to see an actual dollar amount, but I understand.
I guess that's a fair question. When you say up to 65, what are they,
They're pushing somewhere right around 62 right now.
do they have a quote for a system to come in?
I believe that's what the system was, like 61,389, I believe, but I'm not positive on that number. I don't have that with me right now, so.
I understand.
We can go to 62,000 and hope that the taxes don't go over or something, I don't know.
I don't want to approve a motion where we hope something, but, anybody have anything else?
And that's at the recommendation of the people who service our stoplights, not?
Yep,
Okay.
that's not us, we're just,
Okay, so you don't have the quote on you, so you're basically just saying you want to go up to 65,000 for it. Okay, if you want to if nobody has anything else, if you want to make a motion?
make a motion to purchase new stoplights up to $65,000 for Marquette Avenue.
Mallick.
I'll
No,
set-
no, I don't.
Mallick.
I think it's the Marquette Avenue one, isn't it?
It's the
He's
one
got-
by
you got
Beck's, isn't
Mallick
it, that's
stoplight
flashing?
here.
I think so,
Mhm.
yeah.
It
Marquette.
was on the agenda as Malin.
Oh, we'll just purchase the new
Is that
stoplights
Mallick?
for whatever that ones are building.
Well, because the Mallick's the ones that's the underwater one. next to where the Loves is, so
So which one?
Marquette.
Marquette.
It's Beck's. That's the ones that's been
Yeah, the
flashing
one,
for
the
3
one right
weeks.
after that is the one that they did the special camera system with. So is there a reason they can't do the camera system on the other one?
They've already done it. All the wires are rotted out now. And I assume they're all the same age, so they're all gonna be going here soon. So pick your choice, whatever.
Okay,
Wanna fix the one that's flashing, or you wanna do the other one now, or they're all gonna need to be done.
okay. So it's just administrative error that says Mallick on there, so you're saying the motion is for Marquette?
Marquette.
I believe so.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay, I got a motion and a
I already
second.
seconded.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
I,
Curran.
Abstain. E, discuss and act on truck it buck issue, Baldridge.
Another issue
say?
is that,
Did I say? It has been a long.
We're not even at 8 o'clock yet.
we have a letter from Altech. Dear Altech owner, the useful service life of your Altech unit is defined as 25 years from the date of manufacture. After 25 years of service life, the following conditions apply. Altech service will no longer service or maintain your unit. We will continue to provide parts as long as the parts are still available for purchase. If parts are not available, we will not retrofit solutions. Technical support will be limited. Altech's promise is to set the standard of excellence in design, manufacturing, and service. Altech's service backs up this promise with the most complete and comprehensive service and support organization in the industry. We offer the most complete line of parts for equipment repair and maintenance, along with a technical support and training organization to train, educate, and problem solve throughout the useful life of the equipment. So, that's their biggest truck, or the one that extends the farthest, and that's probably the most useful. And at this point, it's not safe because the grounding on it, I guess, is, the grounding for the bucket is what is affected after 25 years. That's why they won't do anymore.
Did it just age out of being serviceable?
I'm not positive on the age exactly. I
Who
believe.
services it? Is it
Altech.
Altech? Okay, so they won't service it anymore?
No more. Done.
Okay, so, yeah, that's an issue.
This was,
what do you mean by grounding? Like the insulated bucket part? Like it
I
has,
think, I'm not an
Yeah.
electrician, but
Probably Hillary, that it's not grounding
It's
to a
not grounding
dead
through the
source, you
vehicle.
know, to
okay.
keep them from getting zapped up
Well,
there.
that sounds like a big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
It's not grounding through the
No.
vehicle, so like,
Mac?
no, we're gonna need it.
Okay, couple things. So, the equipment handler is the biggest one we have. That's the one with the double bucket on. That's the big one, isn't it?
he said it's the one that they can use, goes the farthest or something.
So the last administration, we bought a brand-new equipment handler. That's the one that's got the two buckets on the end. That's the really big one, from my understanding. That should only be like 5 years old. The small bucket truck, we did during this administration. There's only one other bucket truck I have. I thought it was the medium-sized one. Do I have that somehow wrong?
I don't work down there, I have not.
Plus, every year, they have to certify that the buckets are safe or whatever, so Altech they come, and they do an inspection report, on everything. They do the inspection report on the hydraulics, the safety, all these things like that. And as far as I know, now granted, I'm not the commissioner anymore, but they would get those reports and I'd see them that they're all check. So maybe something happened in the last 3 years. Have they fallen out of service where they say that it's not safe anymore?
That's
or
what I
doesn't
just
work?
read.
Is that the report?
Yes, that's the
That's
report.
from
They're no
Alice.
longer they're no longer
They're
gonna
not serviceable.
pass it.
They're not gonna service it.
So
no.
that's
Pass
not
their inspection.
So
We can't
there
take it.
is a sheet that has it has the stuff on it, right? And they'll check off what parts, all that stuff. So this looks like some kind of summary thing that was done up. Also, the thing that they're talking about for 25 years, I do know about this, because there's only 3 places in America that do it, and I got to witness one of them, where they test the grounding for it. So chances are we did not take this out to Virginia, California, or the other third one is in LaGrange, Texas, the one I got to see. So that is how they put this massive amount of power. It looks like this massive Tesla coil. It looks like something crazy. And they generate to see how much grounding is protected from that bucket. So chances are it has fallen out of code. It necessarily hasn't been tested or failed the test, because I guarantee you they didn't test it to one of those things. I feel like this needs to be some more information before we buy another thing, because I thought the really, really big one was the equipment handler, and that's brand new. So if I have that wrong, I'd like more information on that, and I'd love to see the inspection reports for the last 3 years for these devices. I mean, if it has fallen out of code, or it's unsafe in any way, shape, or form, then we need to take an action on it. But my understanding is you have the small bucket truck and you have the really, really big one that are practically brand new. I would think you'd be okay for a little bit. Is that relatively accurate?
I don't work down there, I guess, if we gotta do what we gotta do. I mean, they have to make do with what they have.
I'd prefer more information. I mean, cause I remember the equipment handler was, I wanna say it was like a $200,000 piece of equipment. So that's why I don't know the details on the rest. So for me, I'd like more information, but it's up to what everybody else wants. Anybody have anything else on the topic?
If we need it, we need it, but, I mean, we waited on the backhoe, I mean, we can wait a meeting on this and get more information, but if we need it, we need it. We have,
Here's one thing here, it says aged unit notifications indicate a unit over 25 years old, and Alltech will no longer service it. We will continue to provide parts if they are available for purchase. If parts are not available, we will not engineer retrofit solutions, but will provide technical support. It's got the customer vehicle number.
So it's basically aged out to where they're saying they're not gonna provide
It's done.
parts for it. I'd be curious to know what the inspection reports still stay on it.
It's the
if it's
model
still safe.
D880, so if you know that, that's what it is.
I thought from what Rich read.
Or no, the aged unit is the model AM855.
Yeah, does that mean they don't even come and do the test on it, where they
Yeah.
test the hydraulics
Because I
anymore?
think it said that
Once they're done, they're
they'll
done.
do parts if they have them, but they won't retrofit parts, and, not only that, but they won't service it. So, I mean, if they're not gonna service it, I mean, that's a big issue.
For me, I'd like more information, but
That's fine,
it's
though.
up to you. Okay.
Pretty
You guys
clear, Alltech will no longer service it.
Well,
So-
does service mean come and test it to make sure it's safe, cause for the yearly, I don't know.
I think it's probably a pretty comprehensive term.
So we probably need quotes for
I think if it's
purchase
not
of
safe,
new,
it's
if
not
that's
safe.
what the option we're
That's what their
doing.
point is, like,
So that, I guess, get us some quotes, get us the, what did you call it?
The inspection
Check-
report.
check off
They
sheet.
check, they check to make sure that it's safe for people to go up and down, that it's not gonna strand them, it's not going to collapse on them, all that kind of stuff.
I don't want them to be working unsafe. Do we need to rent? Can you rent them?
My point is, we have there's three pieces of equipment down there, and two of them are super new.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
one's this
If
administration
we
and
don't
one's the
need
last
it
one.
right now, then that's fine.
I-
I don't know the needs of the department. Do they
I
need
don't know
all
either.
of them
Well, that's what has
serviceable
me
at the same
concerned.
time?
He says it's the really large one, and my understanding is the really, really large one is called the equipment handler.
it's the AM855, if you know all so much about them, I mean, that's what it is.
To
so.
get more information on it, come back to it.
All right, so do we wanna table it for now, or are you willing to make a motion on something?
We'll table it for now and.
All right. Can I get a motion to table?
Make a motion to table the bucket truck.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. F, discussion and possible action on amending the agenda ordinance. Baldridge.
Here we have, under our current newly established ordinance, states that the mayor and any commissioner of the city of Oglesby shall have the authority to place an item on agenda for any upcoming city council meeting, but said request must be made at least 48 hours prior to the meeting so as to allow the city clerk to place said item on the written agenda to be posted for said meeting. Anybody that's paid attention has understood here that we've had quite the problem here with somebody throwing something on there 7 or 8 times in a row now. My suggestion here tonight is to amend that part of that ordinance and add in, after place an item on an agenda, under old or new business to be added. That's it.
So you,
5 words? 5 words. Under
Okay.
old or new business,
Right.
to be added and amended.
we'll go around the room. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kinda gets to what Rich was saying about, structural changes, I suppose. So, I mean,
I have a lot more if we wanna talk about
Yeah.
the structural changes too.
yeah,
wanna make
I
this
mean,
meeting-
I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I do think the structure of the agenda should be pretty set. I mean, if you wanna add a discussion
is.
item. Yeah, if you wanna add a discussion item, I'm totally game for it, but I would generally concur, with kinda what he's putting out there, so.
Hillary?
I would agree. I mean, I don't feel like I have the right to put anything on the agenda and then dictate where the placement is. But also, the agenda by a whole isn't anybody one person's control. If I wanna take something off, we have to vote on it at the beginning of the meeting. Same thing, I would say, if it doesn't fall under new or old business, then yeah, it should be up for a council vote.
Okay. Matt?
I agree, it should be to a council vote. I do like the wording that Rich was talking about. You know, when you keep adding it on 7 or 8 times and a certain individual keeps raising his hand right before the American Pledge of Allegiance, gets a little monotonous.
Okay.
Let's make a decision on it and go from there.
Okay. So a couple things is, that provision was added because council members felt that they, do you have something you'd like to also add, or?
In a second. Carry on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. That item was added because council members wanted to make sure that they had the right to make sure that they could add things to the agenda, which I fully support. I think that's great. Matter of fact, I even said today, I don't want to shut anybody down if they're talking about something that they felt was important. So I believe if anybody feels that they have something that's important that they want to talk about, they should be able to add that to the agenda. This whole stuff with structural change or whatever sounds like a ChatGPT thing, because I don't know why anything would have to fit under old business or new business. Matter of fact, those categories did not necessarily exist before I created them during the last administration. Matter of fact, there's other categories that we have on there as well. We have presentations. Somebody might want to come to make a presentation, that would go before old business. I don't think trying to limit something that has to be into old business or new business doesn't seem to make sense to me. Plus, I think there's a lot of value in there. I mean, the council can do what they want. I truly believe there's value because there's a lot of things that can come up that's crazy during a council meeting. And if the council members wanted to talk about something at the end of a council meeting, I think there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I think any other action to do so is an attempt to try to silence people, which is ridiculous. But that's my thoughts. Open floor.
I would say you could theoretically put the mayor's report under old or new business, and it wouldn't really make a difference. So, I mean, I guess that is kind of the caveat. So, I mean, I don't really know if there is a good solution. I mean, I don't think we should be adding the same thing to the agenda every single time when people consistently voted off the agenda. You know, any sort of discussion item, of course, specific discussion item, I don't think anybody should be censored, but I don't really know if there is a good answer to this, honestly, other than
So, ordinance number 2.03.120 is members' rules, Jason, and that doesn't quite have exactly how you said it here. The council of the city, the governing body thereof, consisting of the mayor and 4 commissioners as set forth in this chapter, shall be governed in its deliberations by the following rules. To save time, I'll go down to D. The order of business shall be as follows: 1, roll call; 2, reading of minutes; 3, reports; 4, communication from Board of Local Improvements; 5, petitions and communications; 6, unfinished business; 7, new business; 8, adjournment. Robert's Rules of Order to be followed unless laws shall govern over all and all the questions of parliamentary procedure. These rules may be altered, amended, or temporarily suspended at any time by vote of the council.
That is correct.
Yes, well, that's not what you've done.
Well, no, you guys voted to remove an item from.
I'm not done, but you carry on.
What's that?
I wasn't done here.
Oh,
but-
please go ahead, I'm sorry.
So the other part of my amendment to ordinance is that I would like to add an inclusion due to the recent events. And that is, any item that has been rejected by a majority vote of the city council, including any substantially similar item, shall not be reconsidered or placed on a subsequent agenda for a period of 6 months from the date of such vote, unless a majority of the council members who voted against the original item approve its reintroduction during that period. For purposes of this section, substantially similar item means any proposal that involves the same or closely related subject, matter, purpose, or effect as the previously rejected item, regardless of any minor modifications, renaming, or reformatting intended to circumvent this provision.
Now, I gotta admit, I like that better than your first comment. I gotta admit, Rich, I like that one better than your one
Well,
we
I
had
would like
before.
to make a motion on both of them, so
Okay.
we button that up.
I
Stop
just
this
guess
stuff.
my
I'd go for the
question would
second
be, I mean, do you think that's waterproof, Pat? I mean, do you?
Oh, my God.
Waterproof?
In terms of it being
in
litigated
terms
and
of,
overturned?
say, the mayor's report not being allowed to be on the next agenda, there's no way
Mayor's
that you
report
could
was on
reasonably
it.
put that on there without violating the ordinance?
The mayor's report's on there.
So, first of all, you're not following the order of business that's in your ordinance. It doesn't talk about commissioners' reports. It doesn't talk about mayor's reports.
It just says reports, and it's out of order. If you look at the bottom
And
of
it's not
that,
the order you're following. So if you're gonna start to amend these, I think you ought to have a set agenda and put that forth. That's correct in what you're utilizing now.
so the things that we've updated, you can see on the bottom of that, it'll have a thing for this year. Other than that, it is the original, I think. The original hasn't been modified since, what, 1923? So that's why it reads like that. We could put it in there for our current structure. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because technically the structure is wrong now.
It is,
Right?
yeah.
It is. I mean, we
Caught
don't-
my attention
we haven't
immediately when
followed
I
that
looked at
probably
it.
for at least the last 25 years of minutes I've seen in there. I don't know what happened prior to 1970, but, so we could, I mean, I'm all for that, putting a better structure together. I do not like any wording that says if something's been rejected, we're not gonna bring it back for 6 months, so that means somebody would be
No,
silenced.
just a sec, it said if the majority party that voted it down accepts that. So if there is an emergency or anything, there is a provision that would allow you to bring it back if need be. But for a game like this that you played for 3-4 months now, that's not,
Go
So
ahead and
Rich,
read
let me
that
ask you,
second
let me
one.
ask you this, and I'll give you a real live example. Okay, so somebody puts something on there, they wanna talk about whatever,
is it old or new business? Is there anything that can be productive by that?
irrelevant.
No, that's not. We're here to be
So
productive.
somebody puts something on there,
It's like
and the
social
whole
hours.
council goes, you know what, I don't think we wanna talk about this, so they vote it off, right?
table it.
How does it get back on?
You tabled it, because you
no,
tabled it then.
Hold on. How does it get back on? Because you just said, if the majority of everybody says, you know what, we can bring it back on. If it can't go back on the agenda, how does the majority vote to put it back on then?
Because you'd ask them, and they would agree with you, something
Under
stupid
what
like what
item?
you're doing here.
Under
But
what
we
item?
don't vote
To
put
ask for
items
a
on
motion
the
to
agenda.
No, we don't.
I can't
But you're
remember.
specifically being suggested that you can't put something on the agenda.
So if we do
Can't
take
take a vote on it.
it to
That
a
makes
vote
me
after a
nervous.
long discussion, and we all agree that no, we
Motion to
will not-
reconsider is what it's called. So yes, you could, but you're not gonna put
Motion
the
to
exact same item that has failed. You're gonna put the motion to reconsider on there and reconsider it from the council. And if those 3 people that the majority ruled and said to get it off, if they say at that time, yes, we better get this back on here, then it goes back on.
I'd have to look into that. I think the motion to reconsider is something that happened in the current meeting. I don't know if you can say motion to reconsider something that's on a previous agenda that you've not added to this agenda. I don't know. We'd have to look at that.
And I think Robert's Rules of Order talks about a 3-month pause, not a 6-month pause, from my
Okay.
reading of it in the past.
3 months.
I happen to have some of it right here, because I looked at it for this meeting, but,
Thanks, Pat, appreciate it.
so I would probably suggest 3 months as opposed to 6, but, I think recurring votes can be controlled,
Recurring, agenda items. you mean.
right?
Okay.
Well, I would recommend that we would at least start with, we probably do need to update our structure since it's been probably something that was put up in 1923 and it has not been
Yeah.
followed in our current
So,
format.
I think
Yeah.
that's an easy fix.
I think that is something that everybody would agree
But,
to.
so, I guess there would have to be a majority vote taken at a city council meeting to put it on the agenda for the next meeting, because you wouldn't be able to send like an email and say, hey, is everybody okay with me putting this on the agenda?
Correct.
Okay.
I like what you did there. The public will become aware of that hopefully in the next couple weeks as well.
Could be
of
to
what
wear
you're
tonight
talking
if you
to.
like.
Let's focus on this for now.
Yes.
Got it right here.
So, okay,
Both of them.
well, I mean, is there?
So I made the motion once, would we like to do it again? I had the 2 things there that I gave to Pat. The one motion was to add.
I think you should take them separately, Rich,
Yes.
so, because
Okay.
people might want to vote
The
differently
first one
on
is
each
to amend the ordinance to add in, under old or new business. After, it would fit in, after you put, to place an item on an agenda under old or new business for any upcoming council meeting.
So that's amending the ordinance 1233 that was adopted on August 21st of 2023.
So then I'll ask the question. Let's say,
I'm making
Hillary,
motions
you
for
have
this.
somebody here that you want to do a presentation for, and you want to get them on the agenda. According to that new ordinance, you're not allowed to put that on the agenda.
Why? It could be new business.
Put under old
Well,
new business.
we've always put the presentations up for the first item before any
Oh, I was
business
in the
items,
middle of
because it
making
gives
my
them the
motion.
opportunity
Huh.
to leave.
You still have the option to.
Oh,
Well,
I
under new
need to
business.
I need to correct something. Rich, I'm gonna ask you to stop talking when
Well, I was in
somebody
the
else is
middle of
talking.
making my motion, Jason, and you just butted in
Did
and
you
started talking
finish
about
your motion?
hypotheticals. No, I didn't. I had the other one too. So we
You said-
didn't
you
take
said
care of the
take 'em-
first
you
one,
said-
and you're still having a
got-
debate.
You gotta take them one at a time, so you finished your first motion,
Why are you debating when I called for the motion?
because I don't think you understand.
I don't think you
When-
understand.
No,
You
you
can't
don't.
keep debating after the
When
motion's
a
on the
motion
table.
is made,
It's on the
you don't
table.
get, you
Oh
don't
my
get to vote
God,
for it until
Jason.
everybody's done with the
Hey, and there's no
discussion.
table and indefinitely either, right, Jason? Was
So-
that true?
I don't think we have a second yet, do we?
No, second, yeah, no.
Right.
I do have I will say though, I do, if I could vote to exclude Jason's mayor report or something substantially similar from the agenda, I would be okay with that. But what I will say though, is I don't necessarily know if I like the idea of excluding something from being included on the agenda for a period of 3 months if it's a discussion item, which I think this would do. I think that makes things a little bit different because that is effectively censoring somebody. So, I mean, if we could find some way to remove the mayor's report, I'd be okay with that.
Is there something that you can offer as an alternative to prevent the same topic from being added, to be litigated and discussed and debated every single meeting?
Well, that would be the 3 months, wouldn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
I guess if the substantially similar language is in there, I guess that would count. So,
Yes,
and then those would be two separate okay, then I'm fine with that.
but we also need to redo the agenda items.
Yeah.
I will make a second to redo the ordinance to modify the structure of the agenda must be done by council vote.
And I'll second
Did
that.
I hit that correctly?
Yes, you did. I believe you
So
did.
that's already,
Yeah, we already have that ordinance.
that's already in the ordinance, Hillary.
Well, it doesn't say.
That's paragraph
We
F.
have to redo.
These rules may be altered, amended, or temporarily suspended at any time by a vote
But
of
we
the
need to
council.
update the,
But you
The
need to
agenda.
update the order of business,
Yes.
or what we refer
So-
to as an agenda.
yes.
You're trying to stop something from going
But
on.
Rich has a motion on the floor, and until that one's resolved, we can't
Yes.
take a new motion from you, Hillary.
So I want to make sure I understand Rich's motion. Rich's motion is to add that line to where anybody can add anything to the agenda under old business or new business. Is that correct, Rich?
Yes.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second to that?
I
Okay.
think we need to
No.
second it, but I guess
still
we
unclear on the
also need to modify
unclear what
that
the
our
motion
order
was?
in our ordinance does
Right.
not match what we're
I'll
doing
read it again.
anyway.
Rich, do you have it there? I'll read it again for you. Okay,
One at a time, Hillary.
okay. So the current, you have the current one here.
Top one.
Okay,
Here's
he
the
wants
current,
it to
here's the current one right here, Jason.
Okay. The current one is the mayor and commissioner of the city of Oglesby shall have the authority to place an item on the agenda for an upcoming city council meeting, but said request must be made at least 48 hours prior to meeting, as to allow the city clerk time to place that item on the written agenda post for said meeting. He wants to simply change it to where it says, have the authority to place the item on the agenda under old or new business for any upcoming city council meeting. So basically, it makes it specific to say, if you wanna add something, you have to add it there.
Okay,
Is that correct?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call for that?
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
McDermott.
No.
Moyle.
Aye.
And Curran.
No, but so that means you have direction to create one to put on the next, for the next
Shoot,
agenda.
I like the
And
second.
then there's a second motion.
Then there's a second motion. What's the next motion? Who's
Do we wanna do
making
the
it?
second one?
Any item that has been rejected by a majority vote of the city council, including any substantially similar items, shall not be reconsidered or placed on a subsequent agenda for a period of 3 months from the date of such vote, unless a majority of the council members who voted against the original item approved its reintroduction during that period. For purposes of this section, substantially similar item means any proposal that involves the same or closely related subject matter, purpose, or effect as the previously rejected item, regardless of any minor modifications, renaming, or reformatting intended to circumvent this provision.
Okay, that is incredibly messy and it's highly subjective. I don't know how you say, if it's close to related to this, why don't you start with adding our actual structure into the ordinance? The one that we actually have, that we've been doing for the last,
Well,
for the most part, 10
I
years.
think that's a office issue. We'll sort
Right.
that out.
No, in the ordinance, it specifically says something that's different.
Well, I know, but, I mean, we could just follow what's in the ordinance.
Oh, that'd be a nightmare. I'd rather just go with.
But
what
we
have.
already voted to put the mayor's report at
Yeah.
the front. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a,
They did that. But,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
I think you need to redo this table.
yes.
I do.
What he's referring to is, back in 1923, it basically says, comes with
I
reports.
like that one.
Comes with a report from the
Should've done that
Building
one.
Improvement
Second.
Committee. I mean, all these kinds of things that don't exist anymore, right? I think, if anything, we restructure that to show our current format that we have.
Well, I'd like to second that.
You wanna
motion.
second that
Yeah,
long?
that long one. That way it ain't on a new or old business.
All right, well, there's a first and a second. I'm
3
supposed to
months.
restate it. Does everybody understand it?
restate it.
Can I get it back here?
I don't have it.
It's right here, Jason, this one.
Okay. The motion was, where do you want this at too, by the way? You want this added as another item?
That's what we're making a whole new motion for.
Okay, you wanna add, the motion is to add another item to the provision. Any item that has been rejected, substantially similar item means any proposal that involves the same or closely related subject matter, purpose, or effect as the previously rejected item, regardless of any minor modifications, renaming, or reformatted intended to circumvent this provision. Okay, I find that incredibly subjective. But there's a motion and a second. Does everybody understand what the motion was, at least?
Yes.
Yes? Yes, well, hopefully the people that said they motioned for, okay, the motion is second, roll call then.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
No.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle.
Aye.
And Curran.
No. All right, I
That's-
got some work doing that.
there's
Do we
two
wanna,
of 'em.
since we're on this topic, do we wanna restructure the actual correct format, the thing our attorney recommended?
Sure, let's talk about it.
Well, don't need to talk about it. I think we
I don't know
just
if we need
need
to
to
talk
do it.
about it. I would just make the
Well,
recommendation.
Can I
talk
see
about
your
it right
agenda,
now.
Jason?
Yeah, I would just make a recommendation.
I make a motion that we,
So the order would be, unless somebody objects, opening of meeting, roll call, pledge of allegiance, mayor's report, public comment, agenda items only, approve minutes of prior meetings, approve bills presented for payment, approve payroll, old business, new business, public comment on any topic, commissioner reports, period.
in the executive session.
Yes.
Yes, I would
Adjournment.
love that. That would be great.
So,
I'll make a motion.
Just something off the top of my head, so I guess after we're done with the Pledge of Allegiance, if somebody had passed away, that I wouldn't be able to put,
We can make things.
oh, we can do that then. You're making the rules.
Oh, you made them.
Sorry.
The agenda, and we can move on and maybe go home before 9 o'clock tonight. That would be.
To
The
direct
code.
Pat to get it
To
done.
revise the section of code, yes.
Yes.
I believe the motion
you.
is to direct Pat to revise the section of the code to match to our current structure.
Relating to the
correct.
order of business.
Order of
yes.
Relating to the order
All
of
right,
business.
motion is second.
Okay,
Roll call.
I'm sorry, who did the second? Everyone's,
I will, I don't.
okay.
I did it.
Okay, Baldridge.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Abstain.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moyle.
Let's get it
Aye.
over with.
And Curran.
Aye. That's a good one. All right,
I like that.
number 11, public comment on any topic.
Nick Masalik, Treasurer of We Are Oglesby. Just here actually to announce our first responder of the month. I'm very happy to announce that is our Chief of Police, Mike Margus. Chief of Police Mike Margus was born and raised in Oglesby and is a graduate of LaSalle Peru High School. He worked a variety of jobs growing up, from auto body technician, warehouse forklift operator, chemical plant operator, and owning his own construction company. It wasn't until the year 2000 when he found his true calling and was hired by the Oglesby Police Department when he graduated from the State Police Academy. Margus was chosen to lead a specialized multi-jurisdiction unit called Crime Reduction Unit back in 2006 by the local area chiefs. He rose through the ranks with being appointed sergeant in 2007, then assistant chief of police in 2010. where he served until his appointment as chief of police in 2023. If asked, Chief Margus would say his most rewarding achievement was creating Oglesby's Shop with a Cop program back in 2010. The program has become a huge success, helping hundreds of children and their families. In his spare time, Chief Margus enjoys spending time with his wife, dog, family, and friends. He is also an avid outdoorsman and looks forward to every hunting season. Commissioner Moyle submitted that his leadership goes far beyond managing a department. It is rooted in integrity, accountability, and a genuine commitment to both of his officers and community he serves. Under his guidance, the police department has become more than just a workplace. It has grown into a supportive, unified family. Chief Margus fosters an environment built on trust and respect, where officers feel valued and motivated to perform at their highest level. He leads by example in every sense, never asking his officers to take a task he would not willingly do himself. That level of accountability and humility has earned him deep respect within his department. He encourages growth and professional development for all his officers on the department. Chief Margus has also been instrumental in strengthening community relationships. His efforts in creating and supporting programs like Shop with a Cop have made a meaningful impact on local families, especially youth. He consistently works to develop and promote community-focused initiatives that build trust, connection, and positive engagement between law enforcement and residents. Beyond his official duties, Chief Margus is a constant presence in city events, volunteering his time and showing unwavering dedication to the community. His visibility and involvement reinforce the idea that law enforcement is not separate from the community, but an integral part of it. Through his leadership, compassion, and hands-on approach, Chief Margus has set a standard that others strive to follow. His contributions have strengthened both his department and the community, making him truly deserving of recognition as First Responder of the Month. On behalf of We Are Oglesby, we also want to thank him for his service and continued support of our organization. Chief Margus and his department are all instrumental in supporting community involvement. We are fortunate to have Chief Margus and such a great police department. And also the Garzanellis was there to sponsor a gift certificate and appreciation. So thank you, Chief, for everything that you do and all of our police department.
Excellent. Any other public comments on any topic? Nope.
Well, I'm Pat
You can just put it down, yeah.
I'm Pat Rudzinski, and I am an Oglesby resident for 25 years. And picture me with a bouquet of flowers and a big box of cookies for you all, because in October, my neighbor told me that a utility pole had sagged to where it was already touching my house. And that scared me to no end. And so I pictured my roof going and my garage and all that. And so my first thought was City Hall. And sure enough, that was the thing to do, because the ladies in the clerk's office knew who to call. And so they told me that it's Rich Baldridge. And the person I was talking to face was Mark Morancic. And you should see that utility post looked like spaghetti up there. That's how many wires and utilities were coming from it. So he just said, well, no, you don't have to do anything, Pat. I thought I would be given a whole handful of phone numbers to call, and I would be doing all of this myself. But from that moment on, I just watched a miracle happen. And this started in October, and it finished April 9th, because this was the end of the year and winter was coming, and there was one last utility that wouldn't come. They just let it happen. And I was watching that post, but so was Mark. And I knew that every time he would pass my house, he was looking at it and making a phone call. So I wanted to be here because all I can do is throw flowers and cookies at you guys and come and tell you thank you very much. Because for 25 years, anything that I had a problem with, I could come to the city and feel like I was being taken care of. And this, I can't tell you how many, well, I've got gray hairs, but this would have been a heart attack for me if I had to call all of these people and deal with them and listen to their delays and everything. And you should see, the post used to be so close to my house that when they planted a vine, the vine actually left the post and went onto my roof. So now it was so, you talk about 18 inches on a lot line. Not in my yard. You know, my neighbor owned all of the properties, and so they put the fence wherever they wanted. And the fence that fell and hit my house was right on the lot line, and my backyard was only 6 feet wide, so the fence just made it. So ordinances are important, but the fact that I can depend on the city to help when I have things that I can't do myself. So here's the roses and there's the cookies. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Actually, nice to hear
Positive
something
note.
good.
Can we see you next week? Thank you.
You don't want to stay for a long
Okay.
game.
Number 12, Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cullinan.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I only have one thing tonight. The one thing that I do have is kind of, it goes back to what we were talking about when we were talking about Mr. Camenisch's property and enforcing ordinances. We've had an issue, I guess, for the last decade or a few decades when it comes to actually enforcing, well, I know obviously things have probably changed ordinance-wise, but we've had an issue when it comes to actually enforcing some of our ordinances. And so in my case, we had talked about this as it relates to property maintenance and building code and what, I guess property maintenance is more the police department's jurisdiction, but building code. And so we have been working on addressing some of the complaints that have come in to our online form. And basically what we kind of have is we have a multi-step process. We receive the complaint. Our building electrical inspector, Burton, reaches out to them, or if it's a property maintenance thing, the police department reaches out to the person in question, gives them a fixed by date. If they do not fix it by that date, we did pass an ordinance earlier in this administration that allows us to levy a fine. So we levy the fine and we give them a final fix by date, and if they don't fix it by that date, the plan is to pass it off to the city attorney. But with that being said, we've had a number of submissions already, and as of now, we have some that we're still kind of, especially zoning issues that we're still kind of playing around with. But as far as actual building electrical code stuff, we've had 4 complaints that they were given their final fix by date. Well, they were just recently given their final fix by date. The first fix by date was April 15th, and we gave them 2 weeks to fix definitively, or at least, I guess, ideally fix definitively, but we're willing to work with them as well. But to start progress on fixing those things for which they were cited. So the fines have been leveled and, or whatever, and we'll see kind of how that proceeds. So, you know, I will say I kind of take ownership and responsibility for, on the form, I had made the form up, and on the form it does say you can expect a follow-up response within 2 weeks. I did not indicate to any of the people actually going through and investigating this and sending letters out that I wanted them to follow up within 2 weeks. So that's my fault, but we'll work on the communication aspect of it a little bit more as we go. But I do want people to know, because there have been some questions, I do want people to know that these issues when it comes to building code specifically, and on the police department's end, property maintenance, are being taken care of. So that's all I have for tonight.
Commissioner Moyle.
When I chose to serve on this council, it was with the intention of asking questions, doing the work, and representing our community with integrity. What I did not expect was that serving in this role would include being intimidated, dismissed, and personally targeted for doing exactly that. I want to be very clear about what that has looked like. I've been yelled at across the table during official proceedings with a colleague leaning into me in a physically aggressive manner. I've been told directly that I do not understand issues, probably because of my gender. I have been criticized for making a big deal out of things when raising questions about compliance with state statutes, questions that are quite literally part of my responsibility as an elected official. I was placed in a situation where I was confronted and screamed at for nearly 2 hours over an accusation that I had legally recorded someone, an accusation that was not only unfounded, but a commissioner later acknowledged that he may have started the rumor that contributed to the situation. When I brought that situation forward to my peers, I was told I deserved it because of the current political climate. I was told I had misrepresented what had happened despite documentation confirming my account. I have been the subject of personal and inappropriate speculation, including claims that I am in bed with or being coerced by another commissioner, rather than being recognized as an independent elected official. I have been excluded from important city business and even given the opportunity to discuss economic development opportunities for the city of Oglesby. This is not a disagreement. This is not healthy debate. This is a pattern of behavior designed to undermine, discredit, and silence. And it's not just happening to me. We're now hearing from members of our community, including volunteers and nonprofit leaders who are describing similar experiences of intimidation and bullying. That should concern every one of us. Because when people are treated this way, they don't lean in, they step back, they disengage, and our community is worse for it. Public service should not require anyone to endure hostility in order to participate. It should not require people to diminish themselves just to be heard. So let me be clear about this. I will continue to ask questions. I will continue to speak up. And I will not be intimidated into silence. And to anyone in this community who has felt dismissed, targeted, or pushed aside, do not let anyone convince you to shrink your voice. Your voice is needed here. It always has been. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner McDermott.
First of all, thanks, Hillary. I like that. It's good. Okay. April 27th to March 1st, branch shipping. Put your branches on the berm, and the guys will come by and pick it up. The dry bridge should be completed sometime this month. I still haven't been informed on the actual date. The wastewater treatment plant is on schedule. And let's see. As far as the safe route to schools, I'll look into everybody's concern. And I'll see what I can do, and we'll see how much the city can afford to maybe fix a little bit of the things that are wrong. I do want to appreciate Jim Clenard for coming to the meeting today, and Ross for speaking on behalf of the Safe Route to Schools. And thanks, Hillary. I like that speech. If anybody feels that way, let me know. I don't like that either.
Commissioner Baldridge.
Go ahead.
Good job, Commissioner Moyle and Commissioner McDermott. I do want to apologize. These meetings are very, very long. I acted out of line there. I shouldn't have. I do apologize for that.
We're doing good.
My report. Today, JP and I met with Riley Hinch, I think is his last name. Can't spell it. Hintzche, from the LPFFA Agriculture Department to discuss an exciting partnership that will bring new life to our downtown planters. We are proud to announce that we will be working alongside LaSalle Peru High School's agriculture program to plant our downtown planters this spring. Even more exciting, we are establishing a long-term agreement for the students to continue this effort throughout the remainder of the year. Looking ahead, with the completion of the new agriculture building anticipated next year, this partnership will grow even stronger. Our very own local students will not only be planting the flowers, they will be growing them from the start. This creates a full-circle, hands-on learning experience while directly beautifying our community. This is exactly the kind of collaboration that makes Oglesby special, investing in our youth while enhancing our city. We would also like to extend a sincere thank you to We Are Oglesby for stepping up last year, offering to sponsor the costs and the planters and the downtown planters, and for helping organize and foster this new relationship. Your commitment to our community continues to make a lasting impact. Together, we're not just planting flowers, we're planting pride, opportunity, and the future of Oglesby. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Number 13, council final comments. Go around the room if anybody has anything they'd like to add to anything.
All I'll say is I think Commissioner Moyle's commissioner report, first of all, I believe we all agreed up here that we weren't gonna use the mayor's report or commissioner's report to throw political barbs. You can go back and watch that. And second, there's I guess two sides to every story, so take that with a grain of salt. That's all I have.
Okay.
I think that just illustrates exactly what I was talking about, but okay.
Okay. McDermott?
Well, I'm just gonna say this, I personally feel that any elected official does not have the right to be bewildered, demeanored, or anything, and if you got a question, always ask. That's the biggest thing. People don't ask enough questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question, only a question. It's only dumb if you don't ask.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Baldridge?
Nothing.
And,
I didn't really have anything. The funny thing is you guys are wanting to remove this item and there's evidence
yeah,
today that there's
ironic.
value to have it, so, which is ironic. I guess it's probably,
just comment
chances
on
are,
what other people talking.
chances are it's only gonna be on here for this one and next one. If you guys get your way and then it gets added to the next thing, then it would be changed. So my only thing is, Commissioner Moore, and again, I'm not trying to ask a question though, but it sounds to me like you were making an accusation or something like that. Is that something that we need to investigate? I don't know what it is you're referring to.
I did report it to HR.
Okay. Who was HR then?
You,
When did you report something to me?
January 2nd.
Oh, yeah.
Did you send it in an email or a text or?
Oh my God,
Okay.
he's an upside down.
It's fine.
The only thing I remember you telling me something about was there was an issue with an inappropriate, God, I really don't want to, this is a live meeting.
I agree, this should
This is a
not
live
be
meeting.
done public.
But
I
it-
agree, you
but it's-
asked.
But it was with somebody that made a thing that they just supported your thing of what you just said at the IML conference. So,
What?
I think she's referring to.
I don't know what you're referring to.
I think she's referring to an incident.
The
that we had
glasses.
Yeah.
Glasses?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with?
How peculiar it was, the glasses.
Okay. Oh. So, I mean, people can say what they, do what they want. If somebody feels intimidated by something like that, yeah, I mean, we'll have to look into it. I don't know of anything that was pending, in action.
I believe, Jason, we have talked about it, and we had asked them to consult legal counsel about it, and there's been no response, so.
Is this the thing that somebody made an accusation that somebody was being recorded?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And there's been no follow-up from the people that were upset about it, about any legal implications of anything
Well,
regarding
that's why I thought that
so.
was all handled, because it was referred to attorney and everything like that.
Yep, well, we haven't heard anything back from that attorney yet, so.
Okay,
Oh, okay, please share.
Okay.
okay.
Next item.
All right. I don't have any, just ironically that there is, again, this was designed to be an item in case something were to come up in a council meeting that somebody has a means to talk about something if they wanted to. So I don't have any other comments. So, but again, I'm not the final word. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add?
Nothing.
New.
Okay. Number 14, executive session for collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees.
Jason, I don't think we.
There
have
is
to do
not
it.
a need
We
for
don't
any of
have
those
any.
items?
No.
I'll
It's
make
on
a
the
Hold on,
agenda
hold
just in case we need it.
What did I get in the mail today? That was just, that was something different.
I mean, we
Yeah,
could go
something
into
different.
executive session to discuss what Rich just mentioned, but
Do we need to?
I don't know. They
If
think
there's
it's
a personal
they
item
think
that
it's
we-
imperative, so.
I think if it's something
Well-
imperative, what is that item? The
Employment
employment,
compensation,
compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, 5 ILCS 120/2C1. Someone's talking about something that I think's important, I think there's value to go in.
Intimidation, so I
I
think if
think
it's
there's-
that big of an issue, and we've heard back from
Well,
the
then make
attorney.
a call for it, do the motion, get your
I-
second, let's do that.
Well, that's executive session. Do I have a motion to go in for that particular item I just read? Is there a motion? So it was strong enough to make a mention of it, but not enough for us to talk about when we have a legal representative to solve. Okay, no motion, died, nothing, so therefore, number 15, adjournment. Can we get a motion
I'll
to
make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
I'll set, or.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Moyle,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Almost. Got like 15 minutes.